Chapter 101. After seeing Rumschi's miserable condition, both Kes and Vados were slightly shocked. Kes even opened her mouth slightly, looking very surprised. You can see it. There was no sign of fighting on Aixi's body, but Rumschi's body was covered with scars. Why? You don't even need to look to know that Rumschi was beaten. Kos couldn't help but look at Aixi, this was serious. You know, although Rumschi was very weak, he was still ranked in the middle among gods of destruction. Was he defeated so easily? Kessie couldn't help but look at Aixi again. Tail? Kes was stunned for a moment, then immediately realized. Add to that the ancient aura from before, she understood. In an instant, there was some inexplicable meaning in her eyes when she looked at Aixi. Scion, that's normal. Vados took a step forward and told Chrono what happened immediately. Aixi nodded slightly. I understand. The corridor of time? He is not too strange. A smile appeared on Aixi's face. Just defeated Rumschi, and his MOC progress finally reached 55%. Ultra Instinct has also been unlocked. The combat power also jumped to 191 gullies in one step. There is one more skill. Time and Space Cage. I don't know what the specific situation will be when it is performed. I have to wait and see how it is performed later. What Aixi doesn't understand is, it's only 55%, and he has already unlocked the double ultimate, Super 5, and a series of skills. Wouldn't the remaining 45% be even more amazing? Aixi didn't think much about it, but looked at Vados beside him. I'm going to the corridor of time to find Chrono, do you want to go? Vados thought for a moment and was about to speak. 520. But was interrupted by Kessie of the 10 Emperors. Kessie looked at Aixi and smiled. Aixi, Vados won't go. She said she doesn't understand something and wants to ask me for advice. Aixi's pretty face was filled with sweetness and tranquility, and her tone was clear and gentle. But suddenly, Aixi felt a hint of coldness. Aixi was a little confused, but didn't think much about it. Let's just regard this scene as a scene of deep sisterly love. Aixi smiled and said, then you guys go ahead and do your work, I'll leave first. Swish. Original place. Kes slowly looked at Vados and smiled. Vados, your little man ran away. Gentle tone. But Vados's body trembled. Why did she feel this inexplicable fear? Vados coughed twice and said calmly, Sister, I told you, he is not my man. In fact, I am still his master. FFLXR. He was halfway through his words when he was suddenly interrupted by Kessie. Kes stared at Vados and said with a smile, Great, now we are playing the role of master and apprentice again. You really know how to have fun. I lead. Sister, nothing really happened between me and him. Kessie shook her head, I don't care, you have to stay here honestly and not go anywhere. Vados was shocked, are you crazy? Kes snorted coldly, I'm not crazy, just wait patiently for your little man to come and save you. And at the same time, the 7th universe. Gods of Destruction World. On one side, Son Goku and the other two are training. On the other side, Beerus is training. Whis is feeling exhausted. Who can stand this? Whis just finished teaching Son Goku and the other two, and now he has to teach Beerus. It can be said that without the support of food, he would not be able to hold on for a moment. Whis gathered everyone together and lined them up. Looking at the 4 people, Whis said slowly, we must change our thinking now, and build something new. The 4 of them were stunned. Son Goku asked in confusion, what do you mean? Whis smiled bitterly and said, to be honest, I don't have anything to teach you right now. It's nothing more than the increase in normal combat power, but you can do it yourself. So right now, what I'm going to teach you is a new realm. Beerus' eyes lit up. Is it finally here? Son Goku, Vegeta, and Broly also looked expectant. To be honest, they have been in one realm for too long. I'm all a little fed up with it. Whis coughed twice, I have formulated 4 sets of training rules for the 4 of you. Whis looked at Beerus, first of all, Master Beerus's. The 4 of them pricked up their ears, ready to listen attentively. This is the most precious thing. Beerus couldn't help but feel excited. Whis smiled and said, Lord Beerus, you still have only 1 point, Ultra Instinct. Ultra Instinct. Beerus' eyes went dark. He thought it was something new. Beerus glared at Whis, you're asking me to practice this again, don't you know how long I've been stuck on Ultra Instinct? If I could fix it, I would have done it a long time ago. Whis shook his head and smiled, Master Beerus, cultivation is difficult, just keep persisting. If you fully master Ultra Instinct, wouldn't you also be able to enter the angel level like AIXI? Beerus snorted coldly, Ultra Instinct is not possible. Absolutely not. I am a god of destruction. I am already very powerful for being able to successfully practice Ultra Instinct. You want me to master it completely? Isn't this asking too much? Beerus stared at Whis, change it. Whis shook his head slightly, Master Beerus, it can't be changed. To tell you the truth, if you can't step into the angel level now, then I won't teach you anything new. Beerus' mouth twitched, you promised me that day. Whis said seriously, that also requires Master Beerus to cultivate to the angel level, otherwise you won't even be able to get started with those advanced things. Beerus. Beerus was helpless, okay, I'll just practice. Whis then smiled slightly, that's right. After solving Beerus' problem, Whis turned his attention to the next person, Son Goku. After Beerus's instruction just now, Son Goku couldn't help but become a little nervous. What new things can he learn? Whis looked at Son Goku and shook his head slightly, Goku has a lot of problems. Son Goku was stunned, hey. What? Whis looked at Son Goku and said in a serious tone, Goku, let me ask you, do you want to practice Super 5 or Ultra Instinct? You can only choose one and give me your answer within 1 minute. Ultra 5 or Ultra Instinct? Son Goku suddenly got anxious. Can he choose one in 1 minute? This is too much to ask. Aside. Vegeta was also surprised, can't we have both? Whis shook his head slightly, no. Vegeta snorted coldly, tisk. Whis said calmly, these two forms are not easy to practice. If you want Super 5, then practice Super 5 with all your strength. If you want Ultra Instinct, then practice Ultra Instinct with all your strength. Those who hesitate won't be able to fix anything. Son Goku and Vegeta nodded, but were still a little hesitant. To be honest, Son Goku really likes both. The primitive and wild power of Super 5 deeply appeals to him. The free and flexible divine ability of Ultra Instinct also attracts him. Pick one between the two. It's really difficult. Son Goku frowned, time passed by minute. Whis looked serious, 5 seconds left. Son Goku gritted his teeth, free. Never mind, Super 5. Super 5. At the last second, Son Goku switched over again. Whis nodded slightly, Super 5. Son Goku nodded, yes. Whis looked at Vegeta, Vegeta, you choose one too, Ring Calendar or Super Saiyan 5. Vegeta's face changed, is it true that we can't have both? Whis shook his head, no, greed doesn't end well. Vegeta gritted his teeth, I'm also Super Saiyan 5. Whis nodded slightly, okay. Finally, Whis looked at Broly, so, Broly, do you want to practice the power of destruction, or continue with the supernatural? Broly was stunned, continue to pass. Whis nodded, yes, I studied the Chuan Chao, and they are all Saiyan, so theoretically there are still new states that can be discovered. Broly didn't hesitate at all, Chuan Chao. Whis nodded slightly, okay. Then he looked at the three people, actually they are all following the Saiyan route, so I feel much more relaxed. The three of them were confused. What did it mean? Whis raised the scepter slightly. Dong dong. Then Whis aimed at the ball and said, Reg, come here. Reg. All three of them were shocked. Whis smiled slightly, yes, it's Reg, the Saiyan route, it's better to let Reg give you some advice. Although he's not that strong, he does know a lot about this, so I can summarize it for him. Vegeta looked unhappy, tisk. If I had known earlier, I would have chosen the power of destruction. Call out. The next breath. A figure suddenly appeared beside everyone. Reg glanced at everyone, then his eyes stayed on Vegeta, without saying anything. At this moment, his anger was obviously not that great. After living these days, he finally figured it out. AIXI's words, as long as I'm here, you can't kill him. It has always lingered in his mind. Really? Reg also knew that with AIXI around, he couldn't possibly kill Vegeta. Plus the war not long ago, and the disaster that Whis and Beerus talked about. Reg simply stopped worrying and joined the Beerus group. But to be honest, if he sees Vegeta, he will still beat him up mercilessly. At the same time, the corridor of time. As soon as AIXI stepped into the room, she felt comfortable. This small space is really nice. Just as AIXI was looking around, a figure came over. The person who came was Chrono. When Chrono saw AIXI, a smile appeared on her pretty face. AIXI, you are here. AIXI smiled slightly, yet. Chloro's pretty face was full of teasing, you are not bad, you even managed to hook up with Angel. X. AIXI said slowly, where did you hear that? Chrono was stunned, looking at AIXI's expression, it seems that she didn't know. After hesitating for a moment, she said, of course it was Vados who said that. Leading? AIXI was slightly surprised, Vados is so straight. Looking at AIXI's surprised expression, beads of sweat appeared on Kurono Gong's pretty face. Apparently, there's really nothing between them. But what has been said, how can it be taken back? Chrono could only smile and say, yes, yes. AIXI glanced at Chrono and nodded slightly, I hope you didn't lie to me, I will ask Vados. If you lied to me, the price. Chrono. A trace of panic appeared on Chrono's pretty face, but she quickly suppressed it. Although there is no connection at the moment, she feels that Vados and AIXI must be related. Just look at Vados' blushing face. As a result, Qiluanya gained more confidence. Chloro's pretty face was serious, of course I didn't lie to you. If you don't believe me, go ask her. AIXI smiled, what if it's not? Chrono blushed, no. It can't be otherwise, if you didn't just make the conditions casually. AIXI smiled, if not, you can take her place, 1.9 Ah. Chloro was startled, and a blush immediately appeared on her cute face, replacement. AIXI smiled, you dare not. Chrono stared at AIXI, his cheeks slightly red, and gritted his teeth and said, what are you afraid of? AIXI smiled, then it's a deal. Chrono. Chloro stared at AIXI. She felt as if she had been deceived, but she couldn't tell why. AIXI changed the subject, what is the matter you are talking about? Hearing this, Chrono's expression also became slightly serious, it's nothing, actually. I just came back and asked Son Goku and the others. We are just trapped on a planet, it's not a big problem. Chrono looked at AIXI, do you want to go and take a look? AIXI thought about it and said, okay. Chrono nodded slightly, stretched out his little hand and placed it on AIXI's hand. A soft and delicate touch came, AIXI moved. Chrono, _______. Chrono glared at AIXI, don't move. AIXI raised her eyebrows, move. Chrono's face suddenly turned red, and he quickly pushed AIXI's hand away. AIXI smiled, slowly closed her eyes, and an additional coordinate appeared in her mind. Without further investigation, AIXI began to look for the coordinates of this space and time. Being in the corridor of time, it is relatively easy to find these parallel time and space. AIXI opened her eyes, found it. I'm leaving. Chrono nodded quickly, yeah, it's up to you, AIXI. One bite. AIXI disappeared from the spot, leaving only a residual image. P.S. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. Chapter 102. Beyond Time and Space. Shortly after the Tournament of Power ended. Just now, a young man named Fu, claiming to be a friend of Trunks, called Son Goku and Vegeta away. Original place. Beerus was leaning against a big tree, drinking juice, looking very relaxed. Whis, don't worry. Even though that kid named Fu doesn't look like a good guy, Son Goku and Vegeta are pretty strong after all. Whis smiled and said, that's true. Just as the two of them were taking a leisurely rest. Swish. Suddenly, a figure appeared on the grass in front. The two of them looked over quickly. AIXI looked around and found that it was the gods of Destruction World, then turned his gaze to Beerus. Beerus and Whis were confused. Beerus stared at the sudden person in front of him, who are you? AIXI raised an eyebrow, who else came here just now? Beerus snorted coldly, don't worry about it, just follow the famous minister. AIXI glanced at Beerus, AIXI. OXI. Beerus repeated, looking very confused. Aside. After looking at AIXI, Whis stared into her eyes and suddenly said, "Are you the gods of destruction?" Gods of destruction. AIXI looked at Whis and smiled, "You are quite knowledgeable." 17WHIS suddenly realized, is this really the case? Whis couldn't help but look solemn. The gods of destruction of time appeared? Doesn't it mean that the time and space they are in is facing a crisis? Beerus was also shocked and stood up suddenly, gods of destruction. Beerus quickly looked at AIXI again and again, and when he found that the other party did meet the characteristics, he took a deep breath. Beerus looked at AIXI with an unpleasant expression, "No way, what happened to our time and space?" "Nothing." AIXI smiled and said, "I came here to look for someone and take care of something." Beerus heaved a sigh of relief after hearing this, "It's good that it doesn't destroy time and space." AIXI raised an eyebrow. Destroy time and space? How come he hasn't heard of it? Could it be possible that the gods of destruction of time can destroy time and space? But AIXI didn't ask, which makes his gods of destruction look fake. Beerus looked at AIXI and bowed slightly, "My lord, gods of destruction, I am sorry for my neglect just now. Apart from anything else, a higher-ranking official can crush people to death." Beerus is still unclear about the strength of the person in front of him, but since he can become the gods of destruction, he must have extraordinary abilities. He has to take it with attitude. If you want to get involved in this business, you can't be without brains. Beerus raised his hand, motioning for him to follow. AIXI shook her head, "No, I'm leaving now." The two were stunned. "Leaving?" Beerus was puzzled, but did not ask, instead he quickly said, "Okay, let's go." AIXI nodded slightly and disappeared from the spot. In the universe. Among several planets wrapped in huge chains. There's a fierce battle going on. Son Goku looked at Sion not far away with a serious face, and said in a serious tone, "Vegeta, that guy is too strong, let's merge." Vegeta frowned, gnashed his teeth in anger, and glared at Son Goku fiercely. "Kakarot, forget it. I will never merge with you." Son Goku looked serious, "But do I want to watch Trunks get killed by him?" Just as Son Goku finished speaking. A heart-wrenching scream resounded throughout the battlefield. Both of them looked changed. Not far ahead, Trunks was being grabbed by the neck by a burly man with an evil aura and a deep red aura all over his body. It seemed as if I would suffocate to death in the next second. Vegeta's face changed drastically, "Trunks." Without thinking any more, he quickly said, "Kakarot, give me the earrings." Son Goku looked delighted and quickly went to take out his earrings. Gold Cooler, who was watching the battle, also had a serious look on his face, "Is this guy really Sion? Too strong?" Under normal circumstances, he can beat Super Saiyan Blue Son Goku and Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta beside him so badly. Its gold content can be seen. Fortunately, I didn't act rashly. Otherwise, I would definitely be the same as them now. Sky Kenba's eyes turned fierce, and he was about to take ruthless action. At this critical moment, a figure suddenly appeared, kicked Kenba on the head, and knocked him to the ground. Boom! There was a huge roar that resounded through the sky, and Kenba's body slammed heavily into the ground. Trunks was held by the figure and suspended in mid-air. Everyone's expression changed. He quickly looked in the direction of the sound, and Vegeta couldn't help but stop what he was doing. The person who came was AIXI. AIXI took a look at the figure on the ground and the huge chains in the sky, and her brows couldn't help but slightly raise. Where is this TM? What did it do for him? AIXI narrowed her eyes and looked at Son Goku and Vegeta beside her. What is the current time, AIG? Son Goku was stunned, he thought he was going to ask something. I didn't expect to be asked this. Son Goku didn't think much about it. AI 781. Vegeta stared at AIXI, and couldn't help thinking, this must be an outsider. I don't even know the time. AIXI nodded slightly. 1 year after the Tournament of Power? Looking at the surrounding scenes, AIXI fell into deep thought. At this time, the Scion below had climbed up at some point, staring at AIXI with murderous eyes. Boom! The next moment, an extremely terrifying aura suddenly burst out from his body, and the deep red flames became even more majestic. Kenba stared at AIXI, come on, fight. AIXI glanced at Kenba and frowned slightly. He thought, this scion in front of him seems to be a Kenba? It is said that he was a leader of the Scion Kingdom in ancient times. After being expelled by the righteous Super Scion God, he developed evil thoughts in his heart and became the evil scion. Looks really strong. Just looking at the strength of this energy, it has already reached the initial stage of the ditch level. AIXI smiled and waved at him. Kenba's anger was instantly ignited. He clenched his fists suddenly, and his body was as fast as thunder, rushing over with a roar. Boom! The speed was so fast that the entire space was shaking faintly, and there was a 450-degree thunder explosion. Swish! AIXI disappeared from where he was, and after placing Trunks in front of Son Goku and Vegeta, he returned to where he was. Bang! At this moment, a huge fist like a sandbag, with tremendous power, like Mars hitting the earth, smashed towards AIXI's face with destructive force. Speed and power have reached their peak. Before the fist is even seen, the momentum is already there. Kenba's crimson fist flame, with pure evil power, gradually approached AIXI. Faced with this terrifying blow, AIXI smiled and tilted her head slightly. Easily dodged the opponent's attack. The next breath. Bang! AIXI. A straight punch hit Kenba's chest. At the moment when the opponent's pupils widened, another explosive kick hit his head. Bang! After two moves, two explosions swept across the battlefield. Kenba's body flew backwards uncontrollably and slammed hard onto the ground below. Boom! After a loud explosion, the rocks buried him. The people watching the game gasped. Son Goku and Vegeta looked solemn. Son Goku stared at AIXI, looking dignified. He seems to be a scion as well, but how can he be so powerful? Powerful. Too strong. Vegeta was also shocked, but his expression was grim. With just two moves, he defeated Kenba, who was suppressing himself and Kakarot with two full power super blues, without any chance of resistance. It's outrageous. P.S. Still can't do it. Chapter 103. In the ruins, Kenba slowly stood up. There was a scar on his face and his body was covered in dust. Obviously, he was hit hard by the two blows just now. Kenba stared at AIXI. He had never seen this scion before. Why is it so powerful? Kenba couldn't figure it out. He simply stopped thinking about it, his rage overflowing. He spread out his right hand, a ball of blazing light radiated. Without any hesitation, Kenba threw it into the sky. Buzz! AIXI glanced. The moon? Meanwhile, Kenba stared at the moon in the sky, his pupils suddenly contracted, his body suddenly swelled, and all the muscles in his body went crazy and violent in an instant. Roar! A huge ape roar resounded throughout the earth, and Kenba successfully completed the transformation into a giant ape. His body was covered with yellow hair, and his pupils were slightly white. An extremely terrifying and violent aura swept across the entire battlefield, and Kenba's aura seemed to have undergone an earth-shaking change. Golden giant ape? AIXI took it all in. Aside. Son Goku and Vegeta's faces changed drastically. Son Goku stared at Kenba solemnly. He has transformed into a giant ape, but the increase in combat power is too exaggerated. This was the first time he had seen such a powerful giant ape. Vegeta frowned, glanced at AIXI, and said in a deep voice, Kakarot, pay attention, once that scion is defeated, we will merge. Combine. Son Goku was slightly startled and quickly looked at Vegeta. Vegeta, do you agree? Vegeta snorted coldly, how can we defeat such a terrifying being without fusion? Son Goku smiled, indeed. The two looked at AIXI, not knowing who this sudden person was. At the same time, a control room. A man with purple body, wearing a tight black combat suit and glasses, is staring at the battle situation on the screen in front of him. This person is the man who tricked Son Goku and the others into the prison planet, Fu. At this moment, Fu stared at AIXI intently. Who is this person? Why is it so powerful? I don't know where it came from. Fu was not anxious, but said in a deep voice, let me see your tolerance. Roar, roar, roar. AA. Kenba had a ferocious look on his face and roared madly, his voice shaking the earth and resounding through the sky. At this moment, he was like a giant ape that could only destroy things crazily. There is no reason or humanity at all. Buzz. Suddenly, a dazzling crimson light appeared from Kenba's mouth, and an evil aura gushed out. In an instant, he condensed a huge energy bomb. The energy bomb exuded a terrifying aura, and the evil energy spread in all directions, suffocating the entire space. Kenba pointed at AIXI, ha! Boom! The energy in his mouth poured out, rushing towards Emperor AI with the force of destroying the world. Son Goku's face changed drastically, get down now. The energy contained in this blow is enough to kill him. The energy leaking out of the energy column alone made it impossible for them to hide, not to mention using their bodies to receive the energy. Vegeta gritted his teeth. His pride wouldn't allow him to lie down, but his instinct for survival still made him squat down. The two of them stared at the sky. And AIXI has not made any move yet. Vegeta frowned. Tisk, is he frightened? Son Goku said nothing, staring closely at AIXI, waiting for the other party's next move. AIXI glanced at the energy column coming towards him, his expression unchanged. Suddenly, a smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. Just in time, try this, high-level, destructive power. He has already condensed it, but has not used it yet. Take this opportunity to use it. AIXI looked calm, slowly raised her right hand and slightly opened her lips. Destroy. And just as he finished speaking, the space seemed to be still. The next breath. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the giant energy column that was gushing towards AIXI was suddenly annihilated by an invisible force, and the area where the energy column was located also turned into nothingness in an instant. That area seemed to be empty, without a trace of matter. A heart-wrenching howl of pain resounded through the sky. Kenba was now enveloped by a dark force of destruction. The destructive elements were like an endless energy source that would not be consumed, constantly decomposing him. His giant ape form had been beaten back to normal. At this moment, even though he was as strong as a tank, he couldn't withstand the erosion of this destructive force. AIXI raised her hand slightly. 1 inch. The black destructive force attached to Kenba slowly dissipated. AIXI smiled. He finally understood the difference between this so-called high-level destructive power and ordinary destructive power. This high-level destructive force is black in color, and its destructive energy is even more terrifying. It can annihilate the entire space. Once a person is stuck with the destructive force, unless he has strong enough hardness, he probably won't be able to escape. Just now, Kenba had been suppressing the destructive forces, but the more he suppressed the destructive forces, the more they appeared. Endless. Kenba's figure slowly fell from the sky, his pupils turned white, he was dying, and he didn't move. Son Goku and Vegeta pupil earthquake. Is this, true or false? Seconds. They both couldn't believe it. Son Goku's expression was more serious than ever before. What just happened seemed to be the power of destruction. But, why is it so horrible? It's completely different from Master Beerus. Vegeta stared at the obliterated space with a look of fear. If someone was stuck there, wouldn't it also be destroyed without a trace? Vegeta couldn't imagine what would have happened if he had gone to pick up the letter just now. After hearing what Son Goku said, Vegeta was also dignified, and his eyes couldn't help but look at AIXI, that guy, could it be that he is also a god of destruction? At this time, AIXI slowly fell down. The two men's expressions changed and they quickly got into fighting stances, looking at him with fear in their eyes. AIXI smiled and said, "Don't be nervous, I am the gods of destruction. My name is AIXI." Hearing this, the two of them then relaxed slightly. But he was surprised again, gods of destruction of time. AIXI. Son Goku nodded and quickly said, "My name is Son Goku." Vegeta. AIXI nodded slightly, "I know you guys." Then, AIXI looked aside. "Have you seen us?" Son Goku looked confused, he didn't remember having any contact with AIXI. Vegeta was thoughtful. Gods of destruction of time. It's related to time, it must be from another time and space. Just at this moment. Call out. Two powerful and overbearing auras suddenly attacked, and then two figures slowly fell from the sky. Everyone looked over. AIXI took a look and immediately understood. There is a seal of Chrono on the chest. This should be a member of the Time Patrol. Time Patrol Son Goku and Vegeta slowly landed. They first greeted the Son Goku Vegeta of Super Time and Space, and then looked at AIXI. Son Goku's expression remained unchanged. After taking a look at AIXI, he suddenly asked, "Are you from the Supreme Kai of Time?" His tone was steady and his expression was calm. AIXI glanced at the Tokugawa Son Goku. The Son Goku in front of him was very different from the one he remembered and had come into contact with. So calm. At a glance, you can determine your approximate identity based on your sleep time. AIXI smiled, I am the gods of destruction. If I must say, Chrono is mine. As soon as these words came out, Shi Sun and Kong Bei were all stunned. Time Patrol Vegeta stared at AIXI and said in a serious tone, I have never heard of the gods of destruction of time. If you were. He wanted to continue speaking, but was interrupted by Time Patrol Son Goku. Time Patrol Son Goku looked at AIXI, we got it, thank you for your help. AIXI smiled and said nothing. Time Patrol Vegeta snorted coldly. He had never heard of the gods of destruction of time. But since Kakarot came forward, he couldn't say much. Aside. Macross Son Goku and Vegeta also suddenly realized. Son Goku looked at them excitedly, you are all so strong, especially AIXI, I am a little excited. AIXI glanced at Son Goku and fell into deep thought. This should be the pure Super Goku. What time is it, and you're still thinking about fighting? AIXI looked at Son Goku and Vegeta, you guys go back first. I'm going to do something. The two were stunned. What's up? Vegeta frowned and asked. Shi Sun Kong Bei standing by also had a confused look on his face. AIXI glanced around and suddenly looked up, come out. As soon as the words fell. Boom. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky, and a figure slowly walked out. Everyone was shocked. AIXI glanced at Fu, and he already knew where he was in time and space. Because it's been so long, I've forgotten some of the plots. But luckily I remember it all now. Fu, it seems that he was created by Tova to revive the dark demon world. AIXI. This guy, is so strong. This aura is no less powerful than gods of destruction. But it's normal to think about it. How weak can someone be if he can fool all the gods? Fu stared at AIXI, who are you? AIXI didn't say anything. This was the third time someone had asked him who he was. AIXI looked at Fu and said calmly, were you eavesdropping just now? Cad feet. Fu's face changed and he said in a deep voice, I have never heard of the gods of destruction. AIXI smiled, you've heard it now. Fu's face was gloomy, do you want to meddle in other people's business, have a finger in the pie? AIXI is puzzled. I have this title, but you still think I am meddling in other people's business. AIXI didn't say anything and looked at the people beside her, you go first. A few people hesitated. Son Goku hesitated and said, don't you want us to help you? AIXI said calmly, I'm going to destroy this space, are you sure you want to stay? Destroy this space. Everyone's expression changed. Son Goku took a deep look at AIXI, and then said to everyone, let's go. At this time, Fu said in a deep voice, want to leave. His hand moved slightly. Buzz. The huge chain in the sky suddenly shrank, and the space became a little more oppressive. Everyone's expression changed. AIXI took a look, and with a light shout, he instantly sublimated from normal to Super 1, exuding a golden and white aura all over his body, extremely powerful. AIXI raised her hand and pointed it at the sky. In an instant, a golden energy wave gushed out and slammed into the huge chains. Fu's face changed, but it was too late. At any moment, with a crack, the chains in the sky were completely shattered, and the oppressive atmosphere instantly disappeared. Son Goku was delighted, I can feel the outside world now. Time Patrol Son Goku glanced at AIXI and said, let's go. After saying that, he took a few people away with instant transmission. Original place. Only AIXI and Fu were left. In Chapter 104. Fu's face was gloomy and he stared at AIXI. Who the hell are you? AIXI smiled, AIXI. X. Fu murmured several times. After making sure he had no recollection of it, Fu stared at AIXI, gods of destruction. Even with a new vest, isn't it still gods of destruction? Thinking of this, Fu suddenly smiled, then let me see how strong you are. After saying this, Fu's eyes condensed, and his breath was no longer suppressed. A terrifying evil breath gushed out from his body, spreading all over the place in an instant, and the whole earth was shaking violently. Purple flames rose into the sky, and Fu's aura instantly overwhelmed AIXI. At this moment, Fu's hair just stood up, his eyes turned scarlet, and his pupils turned white. AIXI narrowed her eyes. This aura, Gods of Destruction, is at its peak. AIXI didn't just stand there stupidly. She fixed her eyes and shouted softly, "Ha!" Instantly, a layer of jet-like golden flames ignited around AIXI, and a dazzling white light enveloped him. When the white light dissipated, AIXI had already sublimated from normal to Super Saiyan 4. His body was covered in crimson hair, and he was emitting jets of golden and white flames. He stood tall and majestic, giving people an invisible sense of oppression. Fu's face changed, Super 4. He was naturally familiar with this form, those two time and space patrolmen were it. But why is Super Saiyan 4 so terrifying right now? Whoosh! A breath rushed towards him, and Fu quickly raised his hand to block it, and his body couldn't help but take a few steps back. Such a strong energy! Fu stared at AIXI without saying anything. His face was ugly and he was very angry. It was all because of this sudden Gods of Destruction, his plan was ruined. When comparing his own energy with the opponent's, Fuma immediately knew that he couldn't win. And looking at the other person's eyes, Fu knew that this guy must be the same as himself, and he still had stronger cards and strengths that he hadn't used yet. No more fighting. Fu's face was gloomy. It would do him no good to continue fighting. So, Fu pretended to be kind and said, "You are so strong, I will tell you the truth, do you want to join me? The Gods of Destruction, in the final analysis, we are just their lackeys. Everything we do is for a new future. I won't hide it from you, I actually want to create a new world. If you join me, I will make you the king of the new world." The more Fu spoke, the more excited he became, and his expression became more and more crazy. "OXI, AIXI suddenly interrupted, "If you want to run, just say so. There's no need to waste time." Fu's expression changed and he stared at AIXI, "Since you see through me, I won't pretend anymore." Fu raised his hand slightly, buzz. Suddenly, a dazzling and terrifying energy wave condensed in his hand, and without any hesitation, he suddenly struck in one direction. Boom! AIXI looked up and saw several figures gradually appearing in the thick smoke. Seeing AIXI being attracted, Fu was overjoyed. Fu glanced at the sky, a sneer appearing on the corner of his mouth. "Since I stole his universe seed, I'll protect him from disaster first." Taking advantage of this opportunity, Fu quickly took out his two swords and swung them violently. Boom! Suddenly, a crack in the Sundeo space-time suddenly appeared. Fu glanced at AIXI, "I will come back." AIXI retracted her gaze from the sky, looked at Fu, and said calmly, "You are forbidden." Swish! The space-time rift in front of Fu suddenly closed. What? Fu's face changed drastically. How is it possible? Bag? Fu couldn't believe it, and quickly swung the two swords in his hands again, but his face gradually became ugly. It doesn't work. He can't teleport. Fu looked grimly at AIXI, "What did you do?" AIXI didn't say anything, but slowly looked up at the sky. There are 5 people standing in the sky at this moment. Combine Zamasu, a high-tech creation of 2 Zifals, as well as Lagus and Haz. Zamasu stared at AIXI. He had no idea who AIXI was, but judging by her appearance, she was a human. But how could a human have the power of a god? Haz glanced at Fu without saying anything, his face looking a little gloomy. Lagus stared at AIXI, then asked Haz beside him, "Do you want to kill him?" "Kill him?" Haz narrowed his eyes, "No, let's go first." After saying that, Haz wanted to take everyone away, but he heard a faint voice. "If you come, don't leave." AIXI glanced at everyone, slowly closed her hands, and then slowly opened them. An invisible and powerful aura silently permeated the entire space. AIXI opened her eyes, "Ha! The Cage of Time. 1 SEC." Then, an extremely terrifying golden aura suddenly burst out from his body. The aura spread out at an extremely fast speed, and everyone present was drawn into it. In an instant, the entire prison planet was covered. After covering the prison planet, everyone inside could feel a sensation of tearing glass, and this sensation was increasing little by little as the space-time cage was compressed. Fu's expression suddenly changed. At this moment, he dared not neglect it. Fu clenched his fists suddenly, and a deep purple aura burst out from his body. His aura suddenly changed drastically. The angel level aura is fully released. Fu did not hesitate at all, because his arms were long. Ha! The next moment, a barrier suddenly formed around him, protecting him firmly. In the sky, everyone's expression changed. Zeno looked at Aixi in disbelief. What an amazing aura, he is indeed a god. Yes, it is god. Humans are not that strong. Zeno was sure. Haz's expression suddenly changed. Angel level power, no, give me all your energy. Everyone hurriedly did as they were told and put their hands on Keek. Haz closed his eyes, and the next moment, his eyes suddenly opened. Hey. As deep roars resounded through the sky, Haz's strength instantly jumped from the peak of gods of destruction to the initial stage of angel. But even so, the space-time cage released by Aixi is still being compressed, making the two angel-level fighters look helpless and struggle to resist. Boom! The prison planet beneath his feet could no longer withstand the erosion of these terrifying auras and began to shake violently. Without exception, all the cracks created by the movement burst out with hot red magma. Zeneso's face changed. The prison planet is going to explode. Haz looked grim. We have to go through the space-time rift, but it is forbidden. Let's try instant transmission. Zeneso nodded quickly. You touch me. Without any hesitation, several people bumped into Zeneso's body. Zeneso's face was covered with sweat, and just when everyone couldn't bear it anymore, Zeneso suddenly opened his eyes, found it. Several people were happy. Swish! Without any hesitation, Zeneso and his group instantly disappeared from the spot. And it was at this moment. The prison planet was finally unable to withstand this terrifying energy. The core area began to disintegrate bit by bit, followed by a huge roar. The entire prison planet began to crumble and crack. Countless magmas gushed out, and a scene like hell was unfolding at this moment. Fu's face was grim. He resisted the attack of this terrifying energy desperately. His whole body was ferocious. Fu stared at Aixi, his eyes filled with endless anger. Damn it, if I had known he shouldn't have shown up. Still too young. I was tricked. Fu's face was grim. Although his strength was very strong at the moment, he had only reached the initial stage. But facing such a terrifying compression of time, it was very difficult for him to resist. It's wreaking havoc on his body almost all the time. Boom! With a huge roar that resounded through the sky, the prison planet was compressed completely in an instant, and with a hum, it turned into nothingness. Fu's face was grim, and he suddenly felt a tearing sensation on his body. Fu couldn't help but look at Aixi again. His body has begun to dissipate bit by bit, and now he has lost one hand. Too strong. It should be said that it is horrible. Where on earth did it come from? Fu was puzzled, but he had no time to think. He would be seriously injured if he didn't die from this blow. He wanted to run. At this moment, the space and time next to him suddenly split apart. Call out. Then, a tremendous amount of energy swept him in. The cracks quickly closed. Buzz. Following a crisp sound, a dazzling white light bloomed in the starry sky, catching people's eyes like the sun. This is obviously a sign that the prison planet has disappeared from the universe. Aixi appeared in the universe, looking at the empty and sunny space in front of her. Aixi frowned slightly. The space-time cage. Overall it's not that great, but that may be because it affects too wide a range. The entire prison planet is included. This is why Zeneso and the others were able to leave via instant transmission. I think if you can control a single unit, you can still be very successful. It's hard to take care of this large range throughout the whole process. However, what Aixi is puzzled about is, who created the crack that saved Fu at the end. He didn't have time to react. Aixi narrowed her eyes. Without thinking any further, he slowly disappeared from the spot. Swish! Gods of Destruction World. The atmosphere was a bit quiet, and no one spoke. Son Goku frowned slightly. Why hasn't Aixi come yet? Toki Shin Vegeta snorted coldly. Is there something wrong? Kakarot, go back and check. Son Goku thought about it and was about to nod when he caught a glimpse of a figure suddenly appearing in front of him. OXI. They. Chapter 105. Everyone looked at Aixi, and their faces suddenly brightened with joy. Son Goku stepped forward and asked seriously, Aixi, what happened? AIXI told the truth, let them run away. Son Goku groaned, did he run away? AIXI smiled slightly, but I didn't run completely. Everyone was stunned. Son Goku was confused, what do you mean? AIXI didn't say anything. At this time, Time Patrol Son Goku stepped forward and said, AIXI, let's not carry out the mission for now. Can you walk with me to the corridor of time? AIXI shook her head slightly, no, I have to go and confirm one thing. Everyone was confused. AIXI didn't explain, he was ready to go to the next stop. After manipulating the power of time and space, AIXI now feels much more familiar with it. He could sense all the parallel universes at this moment. And which parallel universes are in crisis, and which parallel universes have evil. At this moment, he finally understood the correct use of the so-called gods of destruction. What about eradicating evil? It's all a cover, the real approach is to erase time and space. Erase the entire time and space. Since the duty of the gods of destruction is to destroy some planets with low indexes and that are not in line with the norm, then his role as the gods of destruction is to destroy some abnormal time and space. This is abnormal time and space. To put it bluntly, the evil index is off the charts. For example, the time and space you are in now. It is a case of the evil index exceeding the standard. He could probably completely destroy this kind of time and space. But here's the problem, he can destroy it anyway, mission accomplished. But correspondingly, everything in this time and space will cease to exist. Just like Beerus and Son Goku in front of us. So, he also has a gentle way of dealing with it, eradicate all evil. Then this time and space will be normal. But this is what the Time Patrol does. AIXI was silent. Although these were all his guesses, to be honest, he felt that it was pretty close. Gods of destruction, now that he's the gods of destruction, can he still be a friendly character? Gods of destruction is not a good character, but a neutral one. It will only ruthlessly destroy the planet, regardless of whether the people on the planet are good or bad. So why not the gods of destruction of time? Thinking of this, AIXI realized, but to be honest. First, he might not be able to destroy time and space. Second, his current strength is also unable to destroy time and space. No wonder, Grand Priest only told him that the gods of destruction of time deal with evil. Who can bear to see a space-time destroyed at every turn? AIXI looked at everyone, goodbye. Without waiting for anyone to speak, AIXI disappeared from the spot. Original place. Everyone looked at each other. What's the meaning? And at the same time. In a crack in time. Fu frowned and suddenly woke up. Then he quickly looked at the woman beside him, who are you? The woman chuckled and did not answer his question. This woman's appearance and complexion are very similar to Angel's. She is also very beautiful, with a natural temperament and a cool face. Looking at this woman, I inexplicably felt a sense of familiarity. Tova looked at Fu beside her and shook her head slightly, you are still too impatient. If that's all, it's far from enough. Fu frowned, what do you mean? Tova said calmly, the gods of destruction have been born. If you want to achieve your ideal, you can't limit yourself to 10 universes. Do you understand what I mean? Fu slowly lowered his head. He naturally understood this truth. But where to? Tova narrowed her eyes slightly, the gods of destruction at that time obviously had no intention of killing you. He just wanted to save your life, otherwise I couldn't save you. And now even my own position has been exposed. Fu looked grim, who are you and why did you save me? Tova smiled slightly, I am your mother. Tova slowly explained and made clear Fu's identity. After hearing this, Fu's face became even uglier. He was actually created using the battle data of countless powerful people in the universe and miscellaneous genes. Moreover, the woman in front of him, who was said to be his mother, actually had nothing to do with him at all. This woman didn't even want to use her own genes, she used copies. Fu's face was gloomy. He did not approve of this mother. But for now he still has to rely on her side. That AIXI is too difficult. So, Fu pondered and said, where are we going? Tova's pretty face slightly condensed, and her eyes narrowed, go to the time and space where the gods of destruction are. After my research, the value of that time and space is far greater than this place. Besides, our identities have been exposed. We must change our target. Tova said in a deep voice, if nothing unexpected happens, they will come to our door soon. Fu frowned, will we be discovered here? Tova nodded slightly, yes. Fu's face darkened. He was afraid that AIXI would find this place. Tova continued, but you don't have to worry, I have sent my people to various time and space. If they don't want problems to occur in other time and space, they won't bother to come to us. After saying that, Tova walked out of the room without looking back, leaving Fu alone. After Tova left, Fu's face was gloomy. He wanted to be fully prepared, to seek revenge on AIXI. Outside the time rift, Tova slowly appeared. There was a man standing in front of her. OXI. AIXI glanced at Tawa and said nothing. Tova narrowed her eyes, how did you find this place? AIXI did not hide it, follow the route you came from. Tova's pretty face suddenly realized and she stared at AIXI, I still underestimated you. Tova's pretty face was gloomy, are you sure you want to focus on us now? Tova waved her hand slightly, and a pure energy emerged, turning into a ball of light screen that appeared in front of AIN. AIXI took a quick glance. The general content inside is that Tao's people are wreaking havoc in other time and space. AIXI retracted her gaze, so. Tova's pretty brows frowned slightly. Staring at AIXI, she slowly said, you don't care. She had already started thinking about the retreat route. If the gods of destruction in front of her didn't care, she would have to run away. AIXI smiled and said, only those who can survive are qualified to be in the space-time. I will go to visit. Tova snorted coldly, survive? Forget it. There are only a handful of people in these time and space who have surpassed the gods of destruction. Do you still want to survive under my hands? AIXI didn't comment, but he still keenly noticed that in the picture before him, there were several people from different time and space who were very powerful. Vegeto who won't disintegrate, GT Son Goku, a planet full of scions. He didn't know what was going on with these time and space, and whether they would disintegrate or not, but AIXI didn't think much about it. He wanted to go and take a look. Tova stared at AIXI, don't think that you are invincible just because you become the gods of destruction. I tell you, your strength is not enough in front of the king of the dark demon realm, Master Mecha Capra. AIXI smiled, but he was sealed. Tova's pretty face twitched slightly, and she glared at AIXI, that was before, it's different now. The dark demon realm will descend upon your time and space. After saying that, she wanted to run away. AIXI raised her hand, and the space-time cage was activated instantly. Suddenly, a ball of square energy trapped her inside. Tova's face changed. She didn't dare to think too much and quickly used magic. The next moment, a crack suddenly appeared in front of her. Boom! Tao's eyes lit up, and when she was about to slip in, she saw AIXI's lips moving, forbidden. Tova exclaimed, what? The time-space wormhole created by her black magic is useless. How is it possible? This is the first time I've encountered this situation. Not daring to think too much, Tova waved her hand quickly, boom. In an instant, the space and time in front of AIXI cracked into pieces, and several cracks suddenly exploded. Then, several figures suddenly flew out. Myra. Finn. These are all artificial humans she created. Ha 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 ha. Several figures rushed towards AIXI frantically, exuding a strange and pulsating aura from their bodies. That was the aura of the devil. This aura contained extremely terrifying energy, causing the surrounding space to be in chaos. The terrifying energy swept over, and the evil spirit was like a huge wave, hitting AIXI. AIXI's eyes narrowed and she shouted softly, hey ah. Instantly, a majestic aura burst out from his body, and the sky-blue divine power seemed out of place in this dim crack of time. The pure and powerful divine power instantly dispersed the offensive of several people. AIXI's hair, eyebrows, and pupils also changed from black to sky-blue that shone with rich divine power in an instant. In a moment, AIXI completed the transformation from normal to super blue, sublimating all the way, and the majestic divine power caused the cracks in time to tremble violently. Myra and the others' expressions changed, but they still rushed forward without hesitation. AIXI smiled and stepped forward, bang, bang, bang. The powerful fist exuded a strong divine power, and the divine power was surrounded by crackling lightning, please give me flowers. Every time a punch hit a few people, a dull thumping sound was heard, like a thunderclap in this immersive space, extremely loud. AIXI punched Myra and the others who were rushing towards him one by one, making them choke with pain. Just a few punches, all my internal organs exploded, all my bones shattered. Is this really human? Myra's pupils were bloodshot, and she stared at AIXI, you dare to think of hurting even a hair on Tova. AIXI had just knocked Finn away with an elbow and glanced at Myra. At this moment, Myra was spitting blood and her breath was weak, but she was still stubborn. He slowly opened his hands, and blocked Tova. Myra was ready to die, with me here, Tova, you can't move. Ox. But just after he finished speaking, he spat out a mouthful of blood. The enchantment brought to him by the power of the demon god was like a bubble at this moment. His internal organs should still be broken. AIXI shook her head, too weak. AIXI smiled at Myra's words and said, do you like Tova? DB. Myra's expression changed, and Tova, who was trapped in the cage of time, was also stunned. Myra's face was grim, I just wanted to protect Master Tawa. AIXI looked at Tova, do you like him, like? Tova's pretty face was calm, Myra was just an artificial person she created. Where does the emotion come from? She has only one goal from beginning to end, to revive the dark demon world, rule all universes. Everything else I experienced was just to achieve my ideal. Tova didn't answer. Myra's face darkened. What happened to him being Buddha's father? AIXI smiled and said, look, she doesn't even like you, but you're still willing to be her dog. Myra snorted coldly, that's none of your business. Tova is my creator, I should protect her until my death. AIXI asked, no emotion at all. Myra said resolutely, no. AIXI nodded slightly, I understand. Then, AIXI raised her hand slightly. Call out. The cage attached to Tova instantly turned into starlight and faded away. Everyone present was also stunned. What's the meaning? Tova also looked at AIXI in confusion. Myra's face lit up with joy, but she didn't say anything, her eyes still fixed on Annie. At this time, AIXI smiled and said, since you are so loyal and have no feelings for me, I will accept Tawa. Received it. Everyone was shocked. Myla C stared at AIXI, what do you mean? AIXI didn't say anything and raised her hand towards Tawa. Boom. In an instant, a space-time rift appeared behind Tawa, and then a powerful suction force sucked her in. Before Tova could react, she disappeared. Myra's expression changed and she hurried forward, but she was still a step too late. Myra turned around, looking angry, where did you put Tova? AIXI smiled, guess. Hateful. Myra shouted angrily, clenched her hands tightly, and her aura instantly rose to the peak. The power of the demon god around her also rose to 1,000 levels in an instant. The entire space-time rift is trembling violently. Myra didn't hesitate at all, roared and shot out, infusing her fist with the evil power of the demon god, instantly increasing its power by several levels. Even the gods of destruction would tremble at this blow. AIXI's expression remained unchanged, and he raised his hand and waved. Call out. In an instant, a sharp slash appeared, inlaid with sky-blue flames, cutting time and space in half and attacking Myra. Time and space slash. This is the basic ability of the power of time and space. By manipulating the surrounding time and space, it distorts time and space to send out the new year. Huge power. It can be used as an enhanced version of Qi Yuan Zhan. Start fast, Wan. Myra's pupil shrank, and before she could react, his body was split in two, the upper half was still flying forward, and the lower half was already kneeling. AIXI did not stop, but turned around and attacked the remaining members of the demon god team. Swish, swish, swish. Just like cutting vegetables, the bodies of several people turned into a pool of blood mist and dissipated. Myra's face was grim, staring at AIXI, what are you going to do to Tova? AIXI smiled slightly, you know. A trace of pain appeared on Myra's face, and tears ran down her face, don't. AIXI looked calm, raised his hand and fired an energy bomb. Boom. The energy wave swept over, and Myra turned into dust and disappeared. AIXI's expression remained unchanged and he continued to look downwards. There, a figure slowly walked out. B. Chapter 106. The person who came was none other than Fu. Fu walked out from the darkness and looked at AIXI with gloomy eyes. His universe seed is not in his hand. The strength is still too weak. Unexpectedly, this AIXI really showed up. Fu's face gradually became ugly, it was really haunting. Fu didn't know that he couldn't beat the other party, so he wanted to negotiate. Looking at AIXI, he said in a deep voice, "Can you not kill me?" AIXI did not refuse immediately, but said calmly, "Give me a reason." Fu's face lit up with joy, and after suppressing his excitement, he coughed lightly and said, "I can rule all time and space for you." Fu stared at AIXI, hoping that the other party would give a corresponding response. But what he got was AIXI shaking her head, "No need." Fu's face darkened, "Don't you want to overthrow Zeno's rule? I don't understand. Logically speaking, no one would refuse such excellent conditions. Who is willing to always be at the feet of others? It's the kind of gadget whose IQ is no more than 10 years old." AIXI smiled, "Do you know how powerful Grand Priest is?" Fu thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "I don't know." He really doesn't know how powerful the Grand Priest is. But 917's strength crushes gods of destruction, plus Angel can't take action. What else are you worried about? AIXI said calmly, "I don't know, how dare you rebel." Fu said in a deep voice, "Angel can't do anything." After he finished speaking, he saw the other person looking at him like a fool. Number. AIXI shook her head and said, "You know that Angel can't attack, but that's just what you think. The actual situation is that Grand Priest can not only attack but also destroy you at any time." Fu's face was grim, "Impossible. If Grand Priest is really that strong, why have we never seen him take action? Throughout thousands of years of history, has Grand Priest ever taken action? In the earliest ancient times, the demon rebellion was not suppressed by the Grand Priest. In the end, it was only with Zeno's amplification that Supreme Kai of Time was able to seal the time Chikapura. Fu didn't believe how powerful a Grand Priest could be. In his opinion, Grand Priest is just a paper tiger that will break at the slightest touch. AIXI shook her head helplessly. There was no need to chat with such a person. AIXI looked at Fu, "If you can't even beat me, don't even think about challenging Grand Priest." AIXI slowly raised her hand, sky blue energy suddenly appeared, and terrifying energy waves gathered out, slowly heading towards Fu's head. Fu's face changed drastically, and he wanted to run away, but his feet felt like they were filled with lead, and he couldn't move. Fu's face was grim. Was his career as a great hero going to end just like that? No, he still has a lot of things to accomplish. Dense beads of sweat appeared on Fu's face. He had never been so frightened before. At this moment, the space around them suddenly moved. AIXI narrowed her eyes. Someone else is coming? Not far away, time and space suddenly appeared, followed by a crack that suddenly exploded, and a low demonic sound rang out. Fu's face lit up with joy. Is there hope? Wait till you get your head back. AIXI cursed angrily, and the energy bomb in his hand poured out, with a diameter of 10 meters in an instant, completely covering Fu's body. How many rings did Fu press? Just like TM Son Goku, he can't be killed and someone always saves him. No. Son Goku will die. This guy won't. Fu's expression, which was originally pleasantly surprised, suddenly changed and a trace of panic appeared on his face. No, boom. In an instant, in Fu's terrified and resentful eyes. AIXI's energy overwhelmed him, and he turned into dust and disappeared. Thus, the boss of a generation came to an abrupt end. Immediately following, a terrifying explosion suddenly sounded in the space-time, and the entire time crack shattered, like pieces of glass, and with a crack it turned into fragments and faded away, and the environment suddenly changed to a dark universe in an instant. Here it is? AIXI glanced around and narrowed her eyes slightly. What a strange environment. But he didn't care much and still looked ahead. As the figure slowly walked out, AIXI gradually saw the person's appearance. The person who came was tall, with an incomparable sense of oppression, and a deep aura like a demon god. The man had blood-red hair, and was wearing a black and white coat, with a blue cape hanging from his shoulders, making a rustling sound. There was a dark purple halo surrounding his body, which was extremely strange. There are 2 blood-red marks on his face, and his eyes are red. This guy, Cooler. The king of the dark demon world is equivalent to the second in command. AIXI narrowed her eyes slightly, looking slightly doubtful. so strong. But the next moment, he became excited again. Finally, a rival worthy of attention has arrived. And then, time and space exploded again, and two figures collided. The two of them didn't speak. After looking at AIXI, they slowly stood behind Demi-Cooler. When AIXI was beating up Demi-Cooler, Demi-Cooler was also sizing up AIXI. Demi-Cooler stared at AIXI, his face gloomy and his tone cold. Are you the gods of destruction? AIXI nodded and said nothing. Demi-Cooler continued coldly, killing someone in front of me. You are the first one who dares to do this. AIXI didn't talk nonsense and waved today. Call out. The time-space slash suddenly launched, heading straight for the three people. Demi-Cooler's face changed, and he quickly raised his hand to condense a thick energy crystal ball that flashed with red flames. Dark reflection. This is his specialty. By contacting the opponent's energy attack, he quickly transforms into a demon, and the opponent's attack is controlled by him, and he turns it towards the opponent. The power can be increased several times. The energy ball collided with the slash, and Demi-Cooler's face changed drastically. How is this possible? The energy ball was cut in half. Demi-Cooler's eyes focused, his hands gathered magic power, and he swung out another dark reflection. Boom! The energy ball collided with the slash again. This time, he used all his strength. The slashing attack was finally not so irresistible, and the sky blue blade energy slowly turned into scarlet devil energy. Demi-Cooler finally calmed down and stared at AIXI. I'll give it back to you. Call out. The slash with red demonic energy attacked AIXI, and the surrounding universe was instantly torn in half. Facing this terrifying attack, AIXI remained calm, raised his hand and swung it again, and in an instant, an even stronger slash condensed out. Boom! The two slashes collided, and at the center of the collision, a terrifying explosion suddenly occurred. The shock wave generated by the explosion caused the entire universe to vibrate, and countless planets exploded on the spot. The entire universe was turned into dust in an instant. AIXI's expression remained unchanged. He raised his hand and a circle suddenly flew out of his hand. Buzz! The scroll stopped in the universe space, emitting a golden light. In an instant, the planets and universes destroyed by the shock waves generated by the explosions suddenly began to overlap. Then, they were wrapped by an invisible force and gradually recovered. The shock wave also disappeared in an instant. AIXI was slightly surprised. This scroll consumes so much energy. 1/10 of his divine power was directly emptied. Opposite. Demi-Cooler was shocked, staring at the scroll in front of AIXI. Eyes are red and bloodshot. Scroll of time. He definitely wasn't mistaken. Demi-Cooler looked at AIXI, his pupils bloodshot and veins popping out on his forehead. You're just using the scroll of time to do this. The thing he had been looking for, in the end, was just used by someone else. The scroll of time records all time and space. Is that how you use it? Demi-Cooler's heart seems to be bleeding. It is simply a waste of resources. AIXI frowned. How else can it be used? Demi-Cooler said hoarsely, the scroll of time records all time and space, as well as the history of time and space. Is this how you use it? AIXI was also slightly surprised. Is there this function? He really didn't know. He had always thought it was only used to modify the timeline and restore. On the other side, Demi-Cooler didn't say anything, staring at AIXI. After taking a deep breath, he slowly said, I won't waste time with you. Just wait, soon, all time and space, including your time and space, will be attacked by the demon world. After saying that, he didn't wait for AIXI to reply, and fled away in an instant transmission at a speed as fast as flying. No slack at all. At the same place, Yuan Meyer and Jilei were both confused. What about us? The two of them became increasingly panicked, their faces filled with fear. Xia Meyer swallowed his saliva, looked at AIXI, and said in a trembling voice, let us go. The word Ma has not yet come out. Swish! The two men's heads were separated, and blood gushed out. Floating in the universe, dying with eyes wide open. AIXI did not stay any longer and disappeared from the spot. The next breath. On a certain planet, AIXI's figure slowly appeared. After taking a look, AIXI immediately determined, this is the GT space-time. He had felt something was wrong just now. This universe seems to have an invisible barrier that wraps it up. There are no angels, no gods of destruction. And here, obviously, is the earth. AIXI looked somewhere. They. Chapter 107. At the same time. North Capital. The sky was shrouded in thick smog, dark and gloomy, and the oppressive atmosphere swept across the entire earth, making everyone panic. Just now, a long-lasting war broke out here. Originally, Omega Shenron was almost destroyed. A crack appeared in the sky, and then a figure fell down. They were familiar with that figure, it was the Majin Buu who had been destroyed decades ago. But Majin Buu at this moment is far different from before. His entire body was covered by an extremely terrifying aura, emitting waves of terrifying energy. The purple-black flames lingered on Majin Buu's body, making his aura extremely powerful. He was already extremely evil, and at this moment, he looked even more terrifying. Below. Among the shattered remains of a broken arm, a figure pushed aside the rubble and stood up with difficulty. Son Goku. At this moment, he was seriously injured, and not a single part of his body was intact. Blood gushed out of his head. Son Goku had never been so miserable. The eldest son Son Gohan and the second son Son Goten were lying on the ground without a single sign of life. Vegeta, the former best friend and rival, is now in a coma due to fatigue and injuries, and his life or death is unknown. As for her family and friends, Shishi, Bulma and others are now hiding with difficulty. Son Goku looked embarrassed, he didn't have any strength left. In fact, as early as when he fought Super Omega Shenron, he already felt that his life would not last long. But the sudden appearance of Majin Buu forced him to fight again. At this moment, all his strength has been drained, and the hope born from despair has also been beaten to pieces by Majin Buu. All gone in smoke. Son Goku had his hair down and his head slightly lowered, his expression unrecognizable. Many misfortunes skekskeksk. In front, Majin Buu suddenly grinned. He was extremely evil, and after being given the power of the devil, he seemed even more inhuman. He looked at Son Goku and felt inexplicably excited. This human is so funny. He was beaten so badly that he didn't even have the energy to sustain life, but he still got up again and again. How interesting. This made him not want to kill him, but he still wanted to see what kind of energy this weak human could unleash. I just killed 2 Scions, and the person in front of me burst out with amazing energy. I don't know if he can still unleash his energy if he continues to kill. Thinking of this, Majin Buu looked excited, and his eyes suddenly turned to the collapsed building. There, hiding are his family and friends. Without any hesitation, Majin Buu shot out, boom. Just a breath. Then he came to Shishi and his group. Shishi and his group's pupils shrank, and their faces were replaced by fear. As if it wasn't enough, Majin Buu grinned and packed up everyone present. Slowly came to Son Goku. He wants to kill him in front of you, swoosh. 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 Several painful voices sounded, Shishi, Bulma, Yamcha. Without exception. Turned into blood mist. Majin Buu looked at Son Goku. Son Goku's head was still half covered, his expression couldn't be seen, and there was no breath at all, as if he was dead. No movement yet? Majin Buu's face turned angry, he didn't believe it. Kill again. Majin Buu looked at Krillin and walked over with a wicked smile. Krillin looked desperate, looked at Son Goku, and smiled, Goku, I'm glad to meet you, bang. Majin Buu grabbed Krillin's neck and his hand shrank slightly. The next second, Krillin's body exploded and turned into a pool of blood mist. Son Goku moved slightly, and Majin Buu looked excited. Look at the effect. He looked at the last person again, Xiao Fang. Xiao Fang's face was covered with tears, and her crying seemed to cause the whole world to move. The whole sky seemed to darken. The world is shrouded in an invisible atmosphere, and the entire universe seems to be feeling sad for it. Xiao Fang looked at Son Goku, crying with fear and panic, Grandpa, please wake up. Can't you always save everyone? Please, wake up. Son Goku didn't move. At this time, Majin Buu laughed evilly and attacked, his fist was attached with the aura of the devil. Abu. The fist hit the air and the attack missed. Xiao Fang suddenly disappeared. Majin Buu was confused, where are the people? Majin Buu looked at Son Goku and found that Son Goku still did not move. Majin Buu was stunned. Wasn't he the one who saved him? But it doesn't matter. Majin Buu grinned and said hoarsely, go to hell. Just at this moment. Boom. The entire planet, no, the entire universe, suddenly began to shake violently. The sky suddenly became extremely dark, and countless world-destroying purple thunders frequently struck the earth. A terrifying aura that shocked the world spread all over the sky. The whole planet was shaking crazily. Majin Buu's face changed, and his body was actually pressed to the ground by the aura, unable to move. Majin Buu struggles to get up. But the more he stood up, the greater the pressure on his body became. What is this? On a mountain top, Aixi held Xiao Fang in his arms and watched the scene with a serious expression. Majin Buu was strengthened by the pure demonic energy, and at least had mid to high level strength, but he was pinned down by Son Goku. Even Aixi felt a huge pressure. Although he is in his normal state now, he is still very strong. I didn't expect it. Aixi stares at Son Goku, what will happen? When he first arrived, he could only save Xiao Fang, he was powerless to do anything else. At the same time, Son Goku's body trembled violently, his head slightly raised, his expression extremely ferocious. His face was covered with an indescribable anger. The anger seemed to have turned into substantial energy, setting the entire world on fire. The air is as hot as the surface of a star. The whole world is shrouded in a terrifying aura. Son Goku, at this moment, has no despair, no pain, nothing. Only endless anger. Hey hey hey! Roars that shook the heavens and earth resounded through the sky, piercing through space, and a red gold ripple spread out at his feet, boom! The earth beneath my feet suddenly cracked and countless magma gushed out, reaching Kingxia. Behind a pile of stones. Super Omega Shenron didn't dare to move. He was almost defeated. Who knew Majin Buu would suddenly show up? This Majin Buu is simply terrifying. Beat him up. Super Omega Shenron looked at Son Goku with fear. What on earth happened to this guy? Obviously I couldn't even beat him at the beginning. The aura that was erupting now seemed to be able to wipe him out at any time. So scary. On the mountain. Aixi's expression changed, and she raised her hand and quickly created a barrier. Aixi's expression became extremely solemn at this moment. It was not fear or terror, but she felt that Son Goku was about to undergo a radical change. Aixi's expression changed when she thought of a possibility. It should be impossible, right? He couldn't guarantee it. This Majin Buu killed Krillin in front of Son Goku and wanted to kill Xiao Fang. He didn't see the others, but he probably didn't make the same exception. This is truly invincible. Aixi looked at Majin Buu, her eyes full of admiration. Bro, are you a new boss? Killing all the protagonists in front of Son Goku, he has never seen anyone dare to do this. And at the same time, Supreme Kai World. Supreme Kai Xian was unsteady, with a look of horror. Grandmaster, what's going on? Why is the Holy Land shaking too? The old Supreme Kai looked more serious than ever before. I don't know. This is the first time I've seen this happen, and I don't know what happened to Goku. Supreme Kai Xian clenched his fists and looked at the Majin Buu lying in the crystal ball, gritting his teeth in anger. It's all this Majin Buu's fault, I don't know where he got here. Why is it so powerful? Old Supreme Kai also nodded, his expression unable to hide his anger. Tisk, I don't want to care about other things now. I just hope Goku will kill him. This beast. Jebet also nodded and said angrily, that's it. All three of them looked very angry. Chapter 108. At the same time. Earth. As the aura grew stronger and stronger, a layer of scorching red gold flames rose up around Son Goku in an instant, and this flame swept across like a huge wave. Then, Son Goku's body was enveloped by a layer of golden light, and the golden flame turned into a dazzling light that covered him. When the golden light faded away, Son Goku had already changed into a new form. His appearance at this moment is like Super Saiyan 4, but it is not red hair, but a kind of golden fluff. At the same time, his hair fell straight down to his waist, intricate and tangled. Son Goku's aura at this moment was extremely violent and chaotic, just like Broly. Filled with unprovoked anger, his pupils turned white, without a trace of focus. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The violent aura around him gradually dissipated and slowly turned into a rising red gold aura. Everyone who saw this scene couldn't help but show a look of shock on their faces. Aixi narrowed his eyes, he didn't recognize this form. But Son Goku's aura was filled with violence and anger at this moment, like a ferocious beast in human form. Even better than Broly. This is obviously against the will of heaven. I don't know what to call AIXI, but he looks very similar to Super 4 and Super 5, except that his fur and hair have turned golden. AIXI thought for a moment and said, let's call it Super Saiyan 4, Fury. As soon as he finished speaking, AIXI took the call. Wrong. If it is Super 4. That anger is so outrageous that it directly raises Son Goku's aura to a higher level. At this time, Xiao Fang beside him gradually woke up. She fell into a coma due to mental tension right after being rescued by AIXI. Xiao Fang looked at AIXI and asked in confusion, who are you? AIXI. Xiao Fang nodded gently, I am Xiao Fang. Xiao Fang asked again, you saved him, right? AIXI nodded. Xiao Fang quickly stood up and bowed, thank you very much. Then, she looked down, and when she saw the changes in Son Goku, she couldn't help but open her mouth. Grandpa, what's this? AIXI said calmly, it has evolved. Xiao Fang was immediately delighted, with a look of admiration on her face. Grandpa finally woke up. Son Goku stared at Majin Buu with a ferocious look, and his mouth slowly opened. Roar! With a roar, a dazzling shock wave suddenly shot out from Son Goku's mouth. The majestic energy spread out, giving people an astonishing sense of oppression. Majin Buu wanted to escape, but was trapped by Son Goku's aura and couldn't move. He could only watch helplessly as Son Goku's mortar shells blasted towards him. Boom! Son Goku lifted Majin Buu high into the air, and then golden energy gushed out of his mouth, and the surging energy completely engulfed Majin Buu. Majin Buu looked horrified as he watched helplessly as the red gold energy column completely covered him. Boom! There was only a loud explosion. He turned into powder in an instant. Deaf. Super Omega Shenron, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't help but swallow his saliva, his expression unable to hide his fear. Strong, too strong. Destroyed Majin Buu in one move. Just when Super Omega Shenron was looking scared, Son Goku suddenly looked at him. Super Omega Shenron was startled and quickly retracted his exposed head. Super Omega Shenron's face was covered with sweat and he looked extremely nervous. Is this possible? No way, he won't be discovered, right? Super Omega Shenron had never been so nervous before. He could not help but slowly close his eyes, clasp his hands together, and pray that he could survive this disaster. But his idea will eventually fail. Son Goku's expression moved and he took a step forward. Boom! Time and space exploded, and a shocking explosion sounded in the distance between Son Goku and Super Omega Shenron. Super Omega Shenron suddenly opened his eyes, and saw Son Goku's ferocious and violent face. A soul-shaking feeling of oppression swept over his body. Suddenly, the Super 10-star dragon collapsed. His face was replaced by horror. You don't come over here. After realizing what was happening, Super Omega Shenron tried to run away, but was grabbed by Son Goku's thigh and lifted up. Then, under the gaze of the spectators, Son Goku slowly raised one hand. AIXI narrowed her eyes, don't look. Xiao Fang looked panicked and quickly turned her head away. Drew. There was a tearing sound. Super Omega Shenron was instantly torn into two halves. No one expected that the super boss of the generation would be torn in half just like that. Even the old Supreme Kai couldn't help but sweat profusely. To be honest, he had never seen such a thing before. It's so shocking. Who? After killing Super Omega Shenron, Son Goku had no opponent and roared to the sky. Xiao Fang was so frightened by the scene that she dared not move, her face filled with fear. Grandpa, what happened? AIXI didn't say anything. Son Goku's eyes suddenly turned to the only person still alive. AIXI's expression changed, you go stay in here first. AIXI waved her hand, time and space exploded, and a suction force sucked Xiao Fang directly in. Xiao Fang was shocked and disappeared on the spot before she could say anything. AIXI jumped down and landed in front of Son Goku. Stopped Son Goku, who was about to go to the remaining humans. Son Goku looked ferocious, but his speed did not slow down at all because of AIXI's arrival. It's even faster. Whoosh! In just a moment, his figure appeared in front of AIXI, and he swung a punch. His fist was filled with unparalleled energy, brutality, and murderous intent. A scorching hot air current hits you in the face. AIXI's expression remained unchanged, and a golden light suddenly burst out from his body. When the light faded, he had changed into another form. From normal to Super Saiyan 4. The whole body is covered with crimson fur, and the hair is still black. Bang! AIXI raised his hand to catch Son Goku's oncoming fist, and stepped back slightly. The force was so strong that the scorching air waves made my hands slightly hot. AIXI looked up and stared at Son Goku. I'll be your opponent. Bang! Suddenly, AIXI moved, leaned forward sideways, slashed his palm into a fist, and hit Son Goku's face hard. This punch instantly caused a loud noise, like a thunderclap. Son Goku's figure flew backwards suddenly, and stopped after traveling hundreds of meters. Son Goku suddenly raised his head and stared at Aiju, his face became even more ferocious. Boom! Time and space exploded, and his figure shot out and pounced fiercely on AIXI. AIXI smiled, without dodging or evading, and rushed out towards the opponent's attack. 0148063117 follow 11212107 boom boom boom. In an instant, two figures collided back and forth on the ground. Their figures were so fast that it was indescribable. The only sound on the battlefield was the explosion of time and space caused by the collision, and the thunder that resounded through the sky. Supreme Kai World. Supreme Kai Xian stared at the crystal ball, his face covered with sweat. Supreme Kai Xian looked anxious. Grandmaster, who is this? He was really confused. Today is a really weird day. Super Omega Shenron. Demonized Majin Buu, and this sudden person. When will it end? The old Supreme Kai's face was also covered with solemnity, but after hearing Xian's words, he suddenly became angry for no reason. How should I know? Can you please look carefully, you two country bastards? He has no idea who this person is, but it seems that he is the only one who can stop Son Goku. He also had no idea about Son Goku's situation and what exactly happened. He would be so violent and furious, with such strong murderous intent. He had only known this feeling in the legendary Super, and the current Son Goku was obviously even more outrageous than Broly. Two people. After being scolded by the old Supreme Kai, the two dared not say anything more and just looked at the crystal ball with worried eyes. Although I can't see anything. Bang! There was a loud explosion in the sky, and the two men's fists collided violently. The strange sound caused by the collision made the whole world tremble. The shock wave spread from the center of impact. In an instant, the earth was on the verge of collapse. The entire earth was cracked and in a mess. The magma rose up 1,000 layers high, rushing straight into the sky. This scene was like the end of the world. AIXI's clenched fist suddenly loosened, and then suddenly grasped Son Goku's fist. AIXI's eyes focused, and red energy gushed out from his palms, rushing towards Son Goku madly. Resonance explosion. Son Goku was unable to move for a moment, and AIXI took this opportunity to raise his hand and swing out a colorful energy. Soul Judge. Stick to your face. At this moment, Son Goku was controlled and unable to move, and his face was hit by colorful energy, and he suddenly opened his mouth. Instantly, a ball of red gold energy gathered in his mouth. Mouth bomb. Boom. The red gold energy came into contact with the Soul Punisher, and in an instant, a white light illuminated the earth. The terrifying shock wave radiated from the center of the collision, as if destroying the world, and the violent energy spread. This moment, all galaxies on Earth, including the Milky Way, and even wider galaxies, at this moment, could not withstand this energy shock wave and suddenly exploded. Boom boom boom. A dazzling light bloomed in the universe, like a rain of fireworks, beautiful and moving. AIXI and Son Goku both retreated rapidly. AIXI raised his hand and a red shield gathered in front of him, blocking the shock waves for him. Punisher Shield. Chapter 109. In the universe, as the battle becomes more intense, AIXI gradually understands Son Goku's current strength. Instead of continuing the fight, AIXI retreated 100 meters. His eyes focused, his fists clenched, his breath restrained, and he slowly closed his eyes. After taking a deep breath, AIXI clenched his fists and a low roar came out of his throat. Hey opposite. Son Goku's aura is violent, and he becomes stronger and stronger as he fights. His fighting style is completely random, and it can be said to be a typical life-for-life method. But the difference is that every time he attacks, he can hit the vital point directly. This is also why AIXI finds him difficult to deal with. It means that his mind is not there, but his fighting instinct is still there. This is a typical fight driven by physical instinct. Son Goku stared at AIXI, his eyes blank, his face ferocious and veins bulging. He couldn't take down AIXI, which made him more and more angry. Son Goku gathered his hands together and slowly condensed an energy wave. Red gold energy suddenly appeared. The powerful energy spread out from the universe like ripples. Ha! As he shouted, the energy in his hand gushed out instantly, reaching a diameter of 100 meters in an instant, and attacked AIXI with a devastating force. Just when the energy wave was about to approach AIXI. Swish! AIXI's figure disappeared on the spot, and the energy wave went straight towards the more distant starry sky. Bang! AIXI appears again and has come in front of Son Goku. AIXI clenched his fists, with golden flames all over his body, and with terrifying pressure, he hit Son Goku's face fiercely. Before Son Goku could react, he was already trapped. Boom! This punch was incredibly powerful. 160 made a huge explosion. Although the universe cannot transmit sound, the battle at this moment has already ignored these rules. Son Goku's body turned sideways, his face twisted. The huge shock wave made him fly forward violently, like a huge fireball in the universe. Roughly speaking, it's just my own super force strength, AIXI thought. Although not very good. But for Son Goku in front of him, it's still amazing. Without thinking too much, AIXI disappeared from the spot. An instant transmission arrived right in front of Son Goku in advance. Put your hands together and slam dunk at the fireball in front of you. Boom. This blow was delivered without any reservation, and it hit Son Goku's back with a force as powerful as a planet exploding. Ox. Son Goku's pupil shrank, and his expression finally responded, no longer furious. Then, he flew out again. AIXI followed closely behind. After a series of beatings, AIXI threw him into the air, put his hands on his waist, forming a calyx shape, and whispered, Kamehameha wave. Suddenly, a dazzling red light appeared, and a mighty energy wave with a diameter of 10 meters hit Son Goku fiercely. Boom! After a loud bang, a figure slowly fell from the universe space. Son Goku has now returned to normal, with the same body and the rest of his teenage years. He closed his eyes tightly. His clothes were all torn, with wounds of all sizes all over his body. AIXI saw this, and the light flickered, and became normal. Slowly flew up. After hugging Son Goku, AIXI couldn't help but sigh. It's really unusual. He has a lot of questions to ask Son Goku, such as the form just now. AIXI looked towards Son Goku. The next moment, AIXI's expression changed slightly. At this moment, Son Goku's body was cold, without a trace of energy flowing, and his heart was stagnant. 583, AIXI frowned, dead? Is this true or false? Weren't you full of energy just now? He didn't go there with the intention to kill. Without thinking too much, AIXI disappeared from the spot. Supreme Kai World. When the three old Supreme Kai were still in shock and hadn't come to their senses, a figure slowly appeared in front of them. General AIXI releases Son Goku. Supreme Kai was startled and quickly took a few steps back, with a look of fear on his face. Who are you? AIXI frowned and said, stop talking nonsense, Son Goku is dead. As soon as these words came out, all three of them were shocked. Dead? The three of them were in disbelief and hurried forward. The old Supreme Kai squatted down slightly, and after a careful inspection, his expression gradually became serious. It is indeed, dead. Supreme Kai Xian and Jebit were both shocked, and then it was like a bolt from the blue. Their relationship with Son Goku isn't super strong, but it's not bad. Seeing my friend become like this, I can't help but feel sad. AIXI stared at Son Goku, get out of the way. Jebi asked quickly, what are you going to do? AIXI said slowly, save him. What? All three of them were shocked. The old Supreme Kai said in a deep voice, how are you going to save him? Supreme Kai Xian and Jepitel were also confused. Namek disappeared in the battle just now. If we want to rely on Dragon Ball, it will be impossible. AIXI didn't say anything, but raised her hand. Buzz. The golden light appears again. Scroll of time. This time, AIXI directly reversed everything in this universe, including the lives and deaths of those on Earth, and the survival of Son Goku. Just a breath. The planet that had just been destroyed, and all the life on it, has been restored. The old Supreme Kai and Xin, who were both Supreme Kai, sensed this immediately. With joy on their faces, they quickly looked at Bites, Son Goku on the ground. But at this moment, the light that was halfway blooming suddenly dimmed. Kindness. AIXI narrowed her eyes. What does this mean? Buzz. On the ground, a ball of white light suddenly appeared, and Son Goku's body gradually became transparent. Supreme Kai, what's going on? Old Supreme Kai's face also changed. He had never seen such a situation before. AIXI's expression remained unchanged. She increased her strength, pouring divine power into the scroll of time without paying. In an instant, Son Goku's body slowly solidified again. The three of them were delighted, but panicked the next second. Just because Son Goku's body is transparent again. This moment. The people present were not stupid and understood it instantly. Someone is robbing people. The old Supreme Kai looked serious. Who is stealing people? Supreme Kai Xin looked at AIXI anxiously. Sir, please increase the intensity. AIXI didn't say anything, just sneered, and said to others. Boom. Just a breath. AIXI's body was suddenly enveloped by a white light. After the white light dissipated, his body was covered with silver white hair, which reached his waist, and terrifying and majestic energy radiated in all directions. Normality is directly sublimated to Super 5. Seeing this scene, the three old Supreme Kai were all shocked. His face was full of disbelief. How is that possible? However, before the three of them could say anything, a layer of scorching white air rose up again at AIXI's feet, as bright as the Milky Way. Ultra Instinct. Boom. The aura suddenly skyrocketed like a rocket. In just a breath, a qualitative change occurred. Ultra Instinct AIXI's energy fluctuations have now reached a shocking level. It's like an abyss, with no end to it. AIXI deliberately suppressed her aura, but the energy fluctuations caused by her transformation still caused the universe barrier to shatter, spreading to the outside world. The faces of the three old Supreme Kai were replaced by fear and shock. His body fell to the ground uncontrollably. What on earth is going on? So scary. Old Supreme Kai's face was extremely solemn, with a hint of panic. This was definitely the most terrifying person he had ever seen. Too strong. But at the same time, he was even more confused. Who on earth was he? This is the first time AIXI has transformed into this form, and she is still a little uncomfortable with it. This power of causing space-time explosions by pinching her hands is so fascinating. AIXI took a deep breath, and poured the surging energy into the scroll of time without paying any money. In just a moment, the circle in my eyes seemed as bright as the sun. Son Goku's originally dim and transparent figure solidified in an instant, and his vitality was revealed. The heart started beating gradually, and the breathing became steady. This time, the person who was fighting with him no longer came forward to stop him, as if he was afraid of AIN's operation. When old Supreme Kai saw this scene, his face suddenly lit up with joy. Winner! But at this moment, the sky suddenly stirred, and a huge green dragon with a body of thousands of feet crossed the sky and gradually flew towards AIXI and others. DF. Shenron. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. AIXI looked at Shenron, and speculation suddenly appeared on her face. Could it be that Shenron was trying to steal the person from him? Shenron hovered above the crowd, then stopped and the two sides looked at each other. Shenron's scarlet pupils moved, looking at AIXI, and said respectfully, "Greetings to the Lord Gods of Destruction." His tone was humble and full of admiration, but his expression was calm and steady. Neither humble nor overbearing. A hint of surprise flashed across AIXI's face. AIXI stared at Shenron. This Shenron seemed very special. His impression of Shenron is that it is useless. Seeing Piccolo is a matter of life and death, and meeting gods of destruction is terrifying. But when I saw myself, I had no fear at all. They. Chapter 110. AIXI looked at Shenron. "You want to snatch people from me?" Shenron said respectfully, "That's not the case. Son Goku overdrew his life. He should have died long ago. I just let nature take its course and took him away." AIXI thought for a moment and said, "Then I will revive him, right?" Shenron shook his head. "It's not impossible," AIXI said coldly. "Then why did you stop me?" He knew that if he didn't make it clear, he might not be able to take Son Goku away today. Shenron could only sigh and said slowly, "Actually, I'm looking for Goku for a reason. His specialness is of great benefit to our Dragon God realm." Aixi narrowed her eyes. Speciality. Shenron nodded slightly. Let's put it this way, time and space have never stopped increasing and being born since the time of Supreme Kai Chrono. Almost every moment, thousands of time and space are being born. When the previous Supreme Kai Ios was in power, she would also control the amount of time and space to ensure that it did not increase sharply. But now that she is gone, time and space have become so vast that it is unimaginable. Do you understand? Aixi said, what does it have to do with you taking Son Goku away? Shenron said slowly, because, no matter how many time and space are born, this special time and space without gods of destruction and angel, nothing, still has not increased rapidly. In billions of years, only no less than 10 have been born. At least 10. Aixi was slightly stunned. Special time and space, should refer to GT time and space. Is it that exaggerated? It took billions of years to be born, no one will come next? Shenron nodded slightly, yes, the Time Patrol team you know is one of them. Aixi raised an eyebrow, so what you mean is that this Son Goku can bring great benefits to you? Shenron nodded, that's right. Shenron paused, you should be speechless and think this is nonsense, but this is the fact. Son Goku in this time and space can bring different effects to the Dragon God realm. Didn't you notice that Time Patrol Son Goku is special? Aixi shook her head, I didn't notice. What's special? He couldn't see it anyway. In addition to different personalities in terms of strength, he is about the same as the Son Goku from his own time and space. Shenron smiled slightly, you will notice it later. Lord Gods of Destruction, I will not hide it from you. To be honest, there are so many time and space, no matter how strong, how terrible, how fancy, how evil, it doesn't matter. Shenron paused, and said with a hint of meaning, because, as long as the main space-time exists, everything will be stable. Shenron deliberately emphasized the word Lord. Aixi narrowed her eyes, this is incredible news. Aixi stared at Shenron, you know the main time and space. Shenron looked a little proud and nodded slightly, of course, I am Shenron of the main time and space. Aixi understood, stared at Shenron, and said slowly, so according to you, this Son Goku is not from the main time and space either. Shenron shook his head slightly, you don't understand, things are precious because they are rare, you can treat him as a living space-time. Aixi nodded slightly and asked, what is the difference between the time and space you are in and ours? What is the main time and space? He just feels confused. According to Shenron, isn't his own time and space a hybrid? There are so many situations. After thinking for a moment, Shenron shook his head and said slowly, in fact, the difference between the bottom level is not that big, the big one is the gods. God. Shenron nodded slightly, yes, it is Master Zeno. As long as the real Master Zeno is there, that is the main time and space. Aixi stared at Shenron, what about the other Zeno? Shenron's face changed, and after looking around, he whispered, don't talk nonsense. Just treat the other Zenos as projections of the main space-time. Aixi stared at Shenron and continued, what about the Grand Priest? Shenron nodded, it's the same. As long as they are the top gods, they all have real bodies, and in every other time and space, you can treat them as the past and future. Aixi suddenly realized, what about the people down there? Shenron said, that's the same. They will follow the direction of the main space-time. The direction of my space-time will be roughly the same as the direction of other space-times. Not much difference overall. It's so different that it's special, like here. Aixi nodded and continued, I have another question. My gods of destruction, according to you, is sealed. Projection sealed? Shenron shook his head, I don't know either. Logically speaking, this kind of position involving multiple universes can only be appointed by Zeno from the main time and space. It doesn't really matter if someone from other time and space is appointed, after all, it's not a big deterrent. But, you don't give me the feeling of a copycat. That's why I respect you. Aixi nodded slightly, as if she had thought of something, and looked at Shenron and said, aren't you afraid that our place is actually the main time and space? After all, the other party said that only the seal of the main time and space counts. Moreover, Another thing worth noting is that when he was in the super time and space, he deliberately paid attention to his wife. Number 18. He was just afraid of having some grass on his head, but there was none. Number 18 had no partner, and he wasn't with Krillin. Since Shenron's words are correct, then his time and space may not be a lifetime and space? After all, because of me, number 18 was snatched away. Number 18 in the space-time world has no partner anymore. Shenron shook his head again and again, impossible. If your place is the main time and space, I will eat 10 tons of it. Shenron's tone was firm and very decisive. Are you kidding? Who is there? Dragon God Sarama. Who is this? Creator of Super Shenron. You know, Lord Dragon God has a very low-key personality. His figure has never appeared in any world other than the main time and space, nor has it ever been projected. For big shots of this level, as long as they want, there will be no other projections. And the Lord Dragon God only exists in their place. I don't need to explain what that means. AIXI smiled, I understand. Knowing this much information, AIXI no longer made things difficult for Shenron. She looked at Shenron and asked, where are you going to take Goku? Shenron smiled slightly, Dragon God Realm. AIXI nodded, I understand, go ahead. Shenron was immediately delighted, thank you very much. If AIXI wanted to stop him, he really couldn't do anything. The gap in strength is too great. No way. Thinking of this, Shenron couldn't help but feel confused and surprised. He overlooked one thing. That is, if this man in front of me is so strong, why doesn't he exist in other time and space? This is puzzling. Shenron didn't think much about it, considering the special nature of gods of destruction at that time. After all, they have a lot of experience in this field. Shenron raised his dragon claw and made a gesture of thanks, then gently picked up the still unconscious Son Goku and placed him steadily on his back. Just as he was about to leave, AIXI suddenly said, oh, right, Quoxia. Shenron was stunned and looked at AIXI, what else? AIXI looked at Son Goku, remember to inform Son Goku when he wakes up. Come to our place, and join the Dimensional Conference. Shenron was slightly stunned, Dimension Conference. AIXI nodded, yes. Shenron was puzzled, but he didn't think much about it. He just nodded gently, I know, I will tell him. AIXI nodded. Call out. After Shenron left, AIXI remained silent. The 3 old Supreme Kai members standing by were all confused at this moment. Who is Zeno? Who is Grand Priest? What is the main space-time? These things made the 3 of them go around in circles, and they were in a state of confusion for a long time. Original place. AIXI seemed to have thought of something and suddenly became anxious, but became helpless the next second. He forgot to ask Shenron what form Son Goku was in. Depend on. Never mind. I can ask Son Goku next time he comes to attend the Dimension Conference. AIXI said hello to the old god and his men, then disappeared from the spot again. Earth. AIXI just used the scroll of time. This place has been restored to its original state. The living people were all confused, because they carried with them the memories of their previous lives. Vegeta slowly got up from the ground, looked around, and shook his aching head, damn, what happened just now, where is Inkarot? The others looked confused, but still gathered together. Discussing intelligence. After knowing that everyone present had died, everyone was stunned. Vegeta frowned and said anxiously, where's Kakarot? Vegeta looked at everyone and asked, who among you saw Kakarot change before you died? Vegeta looked unhappy. What happened? At this time, a figure suddenly appeared in front of them. OXI. Everyone was startled and quickly stepped back, their faces filled with alertness and fear. It was not their fault, after the series of events that had just occurred, they had already reacted instinctively. Vegeta stares at AIXI, Scion. So strong. He couldn't see through it at all. Having died once, Vegeta was not as reckless as usual this time. He tried to speak calmly, who are you? Kakarot is not here. He is the only one I can rely on. AIXI. AIXI waved her hand, time and space exploded, and then a figure walked out. Xiao Fang. Son Gohan was immediately delighted, Xiao Fang. He quickly stepped forward and picked up Xiao Fang. When the father and daughter met, their eyes were filled with jealousy, and both of them couldn't help shedding tears. AIXI then realized that the person standing next to Son Gohan was not Videl. It was a very strange woman, but she was pretty. AIXI was slightly startled and quickly took a closer look at Xiao Fang. After realizing that it was indeed somewhat different from what she had imagined, AIXI fell silent. AIXI looked at Krillin again, and similarly, there was no number 18 next to him. AIXI finally breathed a sigh of relief. Number 18 was there too, but his position was more than 10 meters away from Krillin, so it was obviously irrelevant. Number 18 was also looking at AIXI, for some reason, she had a special feeling. Just like love. After thinking about what Shenron said, AIXI no longer wanted to laugh. Eat tons? Wait and eat. Little glutton. Chapter 111. Then, AIXI explained to everyone what happened during that time. Everyone was shocked. Extremely scared. If AIXI hadn't been there this time, I'm afraid the world would have responded. Everyone was very grateful to AIXI. They came forward to express their gratitude. Vegeta's face was gloomy. Not only did Kakarot unlock a new form, but he was also taken to train? Hateful. After chatting for a while, everyone gradually started to go back to their homes. They needed to rest and recover. Although the physical torture has ended, the mental torture is still tormenting them. Not long. There were only a few people left. Vegeta, and number 18. Vegeta saw that everyone had left, so he walked forward with difficulty. Time. Gods of destruction, can you take me to practice? Said it all in one breath. Vegeta stared at AIXI, looking anxious and expectant. But what he got was the other party's ruthless shake of the head. Vegeta sighed and lowered his head slightly. He knows, no one helps others for free. The reason why he wanted to become a disciple was because AIXI was strong enough. I see. Vegeta nodded slightly and disappeared from the original 063 location. AIXI didn't say anything. He already has an apprentice, so if he says he won't accept one, then that means he won't accept one. Turning her eyes to number 18, AIXI's eyes lit up. Although number 18 in this time and space is a little old, she is full of charm, like a ripe peach, exuding a fascinating scent. She has a cool face and a slender figure, and her tights and slim fit perfectly outline her figure on the bed. Noticing AIXI looking at him, number 18 lowered his head slightly, feeling a little embarrassed. AIXI took a step forward and gently stroked No 18's pretty face. Kindness. Number 18 was startled and quickly looked up at AIXI. What happened? Got it? Her first reaction was to run, but the feeling the other person gave her made her not want to move at all. No 18's face turned slightly red. Here it came again, that familiar yet unfamiliar breath. She felt like she was crazy. I'm obsessed with a stranger. Number 18 looked at AIXI, who are you? My name is AIXI, in another time and space, you are my wife. AIXI smiled and said. Old, wife. No 18's face instantly turned red with embarrassment and he became incoherent. In all her years of life, she had never experienced the same mood swings as today. Number 18 raised his hand and gently slapped AIXI's hand away, lowered his head and said softly, I want to go home. After saying that, she wanted to run, but was stopped by AIXI. Number 18 blushed and said hurriedly, what are you going to do? AIXI smiled and said, you just stopped to wait for me, right? Is there anything you want to tell me? Dress number 18 remained calm, you think too much. AIXI shook her head slightly, you and her are really alike, with exactly the same personality. Number 18, the other party was pulling her, so she couldn't move. So number 18 simply stopped struggling. He looked at AIXI, what do you want to do? She asked again. AIXI raised her eyebrows and said, aren't you waiting for me? But AIXI didn't speak directly. Instead, he nodded slightly. Number 18, stop it. Number 18 blushed slightly, but still pretended to be cold and serious, we don't know each other. Although I may be your wife in another time and space, it doesn't matter here. AIXI smiled and said, it doesn't matter, we know each other now. Now we know each other. Number 18 was helpless, okay. Are you coming to my house? She actually had a lot to ask. AIXI nodded, okay. Not long. Zeno, in front of an apartment. AIXI was slightly surprised. Isn't this his home? Without thinking much, AIXI followed number 18 in. Number 18 poured a glass of water and sat opposite AIXI. Living alone for many years has made her room rather messy. AIXI looked at the clothes rack not far away, where size 18 underwear was randomly placed. 18 following AIXI's gaze, her fair face suddenly turned red. She is used to living alone and doesn't care about privacy at home. AIXI didn't say anything, but smiled. Number 18 felt so ashamed that he could not face anyone. His face turned red, and he lowered his head without saying a word. A long time. Number 18 raised his head slightly, met AIXI's gaze, and asked softly, "Well, since you said that I was your wife in another time and space, then why are you not in this time and space?" She asked the most curious question in her mind. If AI also existed in their time and space, wouldn't it be less painful? AIXI was silent. In fact, he thinks it's just fine without him. AIXI said slowly, "Maybe it's because of my identity, there can only be one." "Oh, I see." Number 18 nodded slightly and smiled. The two chatted for a while. Number 18 asked many questions about himself, and AIXI answered them all. After listening, number 18 fell into a long silence. After a long while, number 18 shook his head and smiled. "She really knows how to enjoy herself, but I am miserable." The tone was a little sour, but not very happy. "After all, it's all me." AIXI smiled, "It's okay, I'm here now." Number 18 blushed and stared at AIXI, "Although you said it perfectly, I have already noticed that." "AIXI, you are a playboy." AIXI looked unhappy. "What?" Number 18 snorted coldly, "That's it." After that, number 18 asked again with some doubt, "AIXI, do you have a child with the other me?" AIXI was stunned, then shook her head, "No." In fact, he was also very puzzled about this. Why doesn't he have any children? Seeing AIXI's depressed face, number 18 suddenly thought of something and was very surprised. You are not, no." AIXI looked very unhappy. "You want to try it?" Number 18 blushed and shook his head quickly, "No." But she still looked doubtful and looked down. AIXI laughed angrily, stood up and walked towards number 18. "Why?" Number 18 was startled and tried to retreat. "What are you doing?" AIXI gently picked up number 18 by the waist and walked towards the bedroom. "We are husband and wife." Number 18 blushed and struggled slightly. "No. It's another me." "That's the same." After feeling that he couldn't shake AIXI's power no matter how he moved, number 18 stopped moving, lowered his head and remained silent. The softness on her body stopped moving. AIXI stopped and felt that 18 didn't speak. AIXI touched her head and whispered, "Don't be afraid." Then, AIXI gently put the slender figure in her hand down. AIXI continued, "Don't worry, I won't do anything rash." Number 18 raised his eyes and met AIXI's with his cold eyes. "No, I just think it's too fast." After saying that, she lowered her eyes shyly. "At least we should get familiar with each other. Besides, wouldn't it be bad for me in another time and space if we did this?" She always has a sense of guilt, feeling as if she has let down another self. AIXI was very surprised. He had not really planned to come here, he just wanted to scare number 18. I didn't expect number 18 to take it seriously. A week passed in the blink of an eye. Come to think of it, this is the first time I have been outside for so long. It's nothing, I just can't walk when I meet my wife outside. This day. After the meal, AIXI smiled and said, "I'm leaving." Hearing this, number 18 was shocked and quickly asked, "You're leaving?" AIXI nodded slightly, "I've been out for too long, I have to go back and take a look, there are still many enemies that I haven't dealt with yet." Number 18 was silent. She naturally knew AIXI's priesthood and the things she should deal with. This week, AIXI took her out to play for a long time, making her feel like she was living in a dream. Time goes by so fast. Number 18 finally realized that her other self would allow AIXI to be unfaithful. She had never experienced this feeling before. There was a brief silence in anger. AIXI smiled, touched No 18's face, and looked into his eyes. "It's okay, I'll come again later." Number 18 suddenly raised his eyes with a determined look. "AIXI, let's have a child." AIXI was stunned. Ah. No 5.818 blushed, don't you want it? AIXI shook her head and smiled, then gently picked up number 18, of course I did. Time flies, that day. Number 18 happily woke AIXI up, with an excited look on his face. AIXI, look. AIXI looked at the item handed over by number 18 with doubt, and after a closer look, she suddenly thought, is it worth it? Number 18 nodded slightly, with a smile on his face, yes. AIXI picked up number 18 and was very excited. After so many years, he finally left his mark in this world. Put me down. Number 18 felt dizzy from being spun around and quickly patted AIXI. AIXI reacted immediately and carefully put Lily's mother down. Number 18 burst out laughing, you are too cautious. Are you so scared? AIXI said seriously, of course, this is my first child. Number 18 smiled. She was also very happy. She had never had someone to accompany her, but now she finally had one. Another day passed, AIXI said goodbye to number 18, leaving him a button that could teleport him there anytime and anywhere. Only then did I leave. They. Chapter 112. AIXI first came to the corridor of time. Here, a group of people gathered. It was Chrono and the Time Patrol. Son Goku looked slightly serious. He and Vegeta went to the super space. Because of Fu, a character who only exists in legends was also introduced. Gods of Destruction. Naturally, the two of them immediately came to ask the Supreme Kai of Time whether it was true or not. After getting a positive answer, Son Goku and Vegeta were both surprised. I didn't expect it to be true. Chrono looked serious, bowed his head and pondered, you said AIXI disappeared, that's true, his last location was in the Time Rift. Now people from the demon world are showing up. I guess they may have unsealed the dark demon world Emperor Mecha Capra. When these words came out, everyone present was shocked. Incredible. Son Goku frowned, the dark demon world Emperor Mecha Capra. He had indeed heard of this person, but he had never actually fought against him. Chrono nodded slightly, his expression gradually becoming serious. He was an extremely terrifying person. He was once a magician in the heavens. Because of his evil intentions, he was imprisoned in a mysterious space by the Supreme Kai. It was during that period that he created the most terrifying existence in the world today, the Dark Demon Realm. Looking at the confused people, Chrono shook his head slightly, you may not know how terrifying he is. Let's put it this way, at his peak, he could even take on all of time and space by himself. All time and space. Everyone was shocked. Son Goku looked serious, so scary, how strong is he? Vegeta and the others also looked over. Chrono pondered for a moment and smiled, at the beginning, I was almost desperate after being beaten. He is immortal and has tremendous magic power. If he kills one of their people, he can be resurrected immediately. It is really terrifying. If we have to rank his strength, my evaluation is that, based on strength alone, it's not inferior to Angel. As for special abilities, they each have their own merits, but I think his is more amazing. After all, I've never seen him fight Angel. Angel. Everyone was shocked. Angel? What is the concept? Son Goku and Vegeta frowned. They had been on duty for so many years, but they had never seen Angel take action. It is indeed unclear how strong it is. But once they witnessed a very incredible ability, time travel. Let the world go back more than 3 minutes. How outrageous is this? And seeing how relaxed the Angel was, the two even felt that the Angel was not using his full strength. Trunks said solemnly, then how did you seal him? Chrono smiled and said, he worked very hard to compete with me for the Supreme Kai of Time and obtain the power of time, but I saw through his identity. Of course I know I can't beat him alone. I didn't think of confronting him directly, but I went to Zeno-sama to confront him and told him all his crimes. This also made it almost effortless for me to become the Supreme Kai of Time when I competed with him for the position of Supreme Kai of Time. He was so angry that he tried to attack all time and space. But I was more skilled and used Zeno-sama's amplification to seal him in advance. There was no major battle during this period. Although many times and spaces were affected, he actually never took action from beginning to end. It was the Demon Realm army that did it. Because I always predict his moves one step ahead and kill him before he can make a move. After hearing this, everyone was silent for a moment. Son Goku said in a serious tone, so, I have never seen him take action. Never seen before. This is outrageous. Even the strength is not clear. Chrono nodded slightly, that's true. Whenever I had problems, I would ask Zeno for help. After all, I couldn't beat him. Everyone fell silent. Vegeta suddenly asked, I want to know, how did he become stronger? Son Goku and the others also looked over immediately. How did he become stronger? This is indeed a crucial point. Chrono was silent for a moment and then said in a deep voice, first of all, it is the dark power he created himself. To put it bluntly, this thing is just like cheating. Not only is it easy to practice, it's also very powerful. The principle is to collect the energy of powerful warriors and the energy of the universe and transform it into your own energy, thus becoming stronger. Everyone was very surprised. Vegeta said solemnly, you can become stronger just by absorbing the energy of a powerful being. Chrono nodded slightly, yes. Vegeta snorted coldly, tisk. So disgusting. Chrono continued, there is also the power of time and space, magic, and divine power. I don't need to explain this anymore, right? Those who understand will understand. Everyone nodded. This is indeed something that is well known. Chrono said in a deep voice, and he has mastered almost all of the top skills, peak. Everyone was silent. The peak is not scary, what is scary is that every field is the peak. Chrono continued, now many time and space have suffered devastating blows. I speculate that he may have been unsealed. Son Goku nodded and said seriously, I understand. We will be ready. Everyone agreed again. See this scene. Chrono smiled slightly and said, that's good. Just as she was about to assign the task, her expression suddenly changed. Son Goku looked at Chrono and asked, what's wrong? Chrono said in a deep voice, there is a problem with the super space-time. What? Vegeta exclaimed. Without thinking too much, Vegeta looked at Son Goku and said in a deep voice, Kakarot, let's go. Son Goku nodded and looked at Chrono, then we'll set off first. Chrono nodded slightly, go ahead, be careful, and do it according to your ability. The two nodded and disappeared on the spot. After Trunks and the others looked at each other, they immediately said, then we'll set off too. Soon, Chrono was the only one left there. Staring ahead, Chrono felt an inexplicable palpitation. Her face changed slightly and her brows furrowed, what's going on? I touched my heart, it was beating very irregularly. Shaking his dizzy head, Chrono murmured, maybe I'm too tired recently. Never mind, I won't think about it anymore. Just as she was about to go to her room to rest, boom. Suddenly, a crack appeared in space and time. Then a figure walked out. Chrono was startled and quickly looked in the direction of the sound. After seeing who was coming, her face changed and she exclaimed, Veget. That's right, the man in front of me is Vegeto. Son Goku and Vegeta's fusion. Vegeto first looked around, then turned his gaze to Chrono. Chrono asked solemnly, how did you get here? Vegeto smiled, raised his hand and rubbed his finger with the reflective ring, damn it. Chrono took a closer look. Ring of time. Chrono stared at Vegeto, how did you get that thing? Vegeto smiled and said, don't worry, I'm a good person. Chrono still did not let down her guard. Who of the people she had met over the years did not claim to be a good person? Vegeto was helpless and looked behind Chrono, if you don't believe me, the person behind you can tell me, later? Chrono was startled and turned his head quickly. AIXI's figure slowly emerged. OXI. You're back. Chrono looked delighted. AIXI nodded and smiled, then looked forward, looked at Vegeto, and asked, which time and space are you from? This Vegeto doesn't seem to disintegrate? Vegeto smiled and said, it doesn't matter. I'm just a person who wants to become stronger and loves fighting. AIXI nodded slightly and asked another question, I see, my question is the same as hers. How did you get here? Vegeto pondered for a moment, then smiled and said, it's not a big deal. I can just kill an intruder and take this thing from him, and then I can get here. Vegeto shook the ring in his hand again. AIXI nodded slightly, intruder. Vegeto nodded and said, yes, he wanted to destroy our universe. He also killed the Supreme Kai of the Third Universe, the Supreme Kai of several other universes, and the gods of destruction of the 12th universe. He was quite a big shot, but I killed him on the spot when I caught him. Vegeto said, shaking his head and laughing, it's funny to say that, I thought they were so strong. They shouted to kill the gods of destruction and Zeno all day, but they couldn't even take a single move from me. Vegeto's words were full of confidence, his tone was calm but full of absolute rationality. AIXI couldn't help but look at him again. Vegeto smiled and said, I heard they have a legion called the Dark Demon Realm. I wanted to come and see it, but I didn't expect to accidentally come to your place. So, who are you guys? AIXI smiled and said, this is the Corridor of Time, my name is AIBN. I'm Chrono. Chrono also said quickly. Vegeto nodded slightly, staring at AIXI with a slightly excited look. AI, you are very strong, right? AIXI glanced at Vegeto and nodded, not bad. Vegeto clenched his fists and said, how about fighting with me? As if afraid that AIXI would refuse, Vegeto added, I have been invincible for too long, and I will never let you down. AIXI thought about it and was about to agree, but the next second, his face suddenly changed. AIXI slowly closed her eyes. What's wrong? Chloro pulled AIXI's sleeve, somewhat puzzled. AIXI opened her eyes and sneered, the masked man I told you about last time. And it's not just him. Haz's group of little Karami and Demi-Cooler are here too. Now they are focusing their fire on my time and space. Hearing this, Chloro was surprised, what? How is it possible? Didn't I just notice that there was something wrong with the hyperspace? AIXI said slowly, everything went wrong. Chrono's face darkened. AIXI looked at Vegeto, I have something to do, I'll fight you next time. Vegeto nodded, then asked with interest, is it the demonic army? AIXI nodded, yes. Vegeto said excitedly, take me with you, I want to go too. AIXI glanced at Vegeto and didn't refuse, okay, come with me. AIXI looked at Chrono again, I'm leaving first. Chrono stared at AIXI and said, be careful. She doesn't want to see that kind of scene with Son Gohan anymore. Son Gohan was very powerful back then, but he was besieged and fired upon. AIXI nodded, don't worry. Afterwards, AIXI disappeared with Vegeto. Chapter 113. Dark Demon World. This is an isolation zone, located at the angle between time and space, there is no concept of time and space here. The sky was dark, blood-red light enveloped the earth, and the atmosphere was oppressive and terrifying. In the center stands a majestic and magnificent giant palace. The overall style of the palace gives people a feeling of horror and horror. A giant ancient bell hangs on the palace, and every time it vibrates, it represents the birth of a new space and time. Call out. A figure slowly emerged from the darkness. Mecha Capra. Mecha was wearing a black robe with some dark red and purple patterns on it, which gave the whole look an eerie feel. He wore a hat with a weird decoration on his head, which looked like a wizard's hat. Mechapra's face was dark, his eyes were deep, and they were flashing red and purple light. Mecha Capra's tone was cold, without a trace of warmth, it looks like he was unsealed by Tova. It's all Chrono's fault. Mechapra's face was gloomy. How powerful and glorious was he in those days? But he didn't even have a chance to show his skills because Chrono and Zeno Amplifier directly sealed him in the cracks of time, for 75 million years. Who can stand this? Mecha Capra's face twisted, and he growled, Chrono, Zeno, Angel, whoever it is, I tell you, I'm out now, none of you will survive, boom. As he spoke, a shocking demonic power suddenly burst out from his body. It was extremely terrifying. The dark demon world was shaken. After taking a deep breath, Mecha finally calmed down. This time, he knew that he was not strong enough. It's all in vain to do anything. Must become stronger. Why was he sealed last time? Expansion. Mechapra's face changed. He was just inflated. He didn't take Chrono seriously at all, and even when he threw the Zeno amplifier in his face, he still didn't take it seriously. Now think about it, how ridiculous he was at that time. Mechapra wanted to slap herself. What are you going crazy about? I'm in urgent need of strength now, otherwise I won't be able to defeat any of them. I heard that a gods of destruction of time has been born. Mechapra said in a deep voice. Tova must have been taken away by him. Well, luckily Tova left behind the dark dragon ball, otherwise he would have to spend a lot of effort to collect all the Dragon Balls. Dark Dragon Ball. This is a Shenron second only to the Super Shenron. At least that's what Mecha Capra thinks. After all, it is more difficult to find than Super Dragon Ball. Super Dragon Ball can be found by just wandering around in Universe 67. But Dark Dragon Ball can only be found in the multiverse. Without thinking too much, Mecha waved his hand. With a hum sound, 7 black Dragon Balls suddenly popped out of his hand. Come out and make my wish come true. I want to be famous. Mecha shouted. This line is actually an imitation of Super Dragon Ball. After all, this is the number 1 under Super Shenron. 7 dark Dragon Balls emitted strange light, and a giant black energy column with a diameter of 100 meters shot up into the sky. Boom. The entire demon world was shaken violently. Then, a giant dark dragon about hundreds of thousands meters long slowly appeared. Its huge body hovered in the sky, which was extremely spectacular. Wisher, no matter what your wish is, I can make one come true for you. The low voice spread out, as if carrying some kind of magic, making the atmosphere extremely weird. Mecha looked at Dark Shenron and said, "Let me return to the top." In the middle of his speech, Mecha suddenly got stuck. Why did he make such a wish? No matter how strong he was at his peak, he was still not as strong as Zeno. So, Mecha changed his mindset, "Let me have the strongest power in the entire universe." The words fell. Dark Shenron is silent. Mecha was stunned. Would it fail? This is embarrassing. 1 minute later, just when Mecha Capra was about to give up, Dark Shenron suddenly spoke, "The strongest power in the entire universe. I can't do it, but I can make you the most praised by all angels." All angels? Mechapra's face suddenly lit up. That's fine. This is incredible. Above all angels? Invincible. Even at his peak, he couldn't be above all the angels, right? By the way, does this angel also include Grand Priest? Just as he was about to ask, a strange light flashed in Dark Shenron's eyes, and then suddenly dissipated. Transformed into 7 rays of light that shone in all directions. Forget it, what else can Grand Priest be if not angel? Mecha shook his head and smiled. Then, he carefully checked his own strength. This endless energy. The inexhaustible power of darkness. Mecha looks excited, invincible. Really invincible. Plus his immortal body, the power of the devil, the power of time and space. And my current strength, Mecha Capra can't wait to shout I'm invincible. The power of the devil can be given to a random younger brother, making this younger brother instantly invincible. 0148063117 Philo 11213126 The power of time and space allows him to pass through the dark world, absorb the energy factors of powerful people in various time and space, and transform them into his own strength. It can be said that even if he doesn't step out of this dark demon world, he can still destroy all time and space. Use the power of the dark world and time and space to absorb energy factors to become stronger, and then use the power of the devil to pass the energy to my younger brother. Thinking of this, Mecha became even more excited. Mecha raised his hand and waved. Suddenly, a group of people appeared in front of him out of thin air. In addition to his own brothers, there were also some super strong men from different time and space. If AIXI were present, she would definitely be surprised. Because, the person he killed, Fu, was also among them. Call out. And at the same time, in countless time and space, 7 Dragon Balls flashing with strange black light are shuttling madly. The dark Dragon Ball flickers strangely in the universe, and it is also getting bigger little by little. It was originally only 5 meters in size, but now it has grown to 20 meters in diameter. Apparently, Dark Dragon Ball is also changing to 0. Chapter 114. The 10th Universe. Gods of Destruction World. Vados looked helpless, she had been trapped here for a week. During this time, I thought about escaping. But as soon as he had this thought, he was stopped by Kes. So far, she can only live here temporarily, waiting for AIXI to come and save her one day. Vados looked ahead. Not far away, there stood a little angel, KS. Bathed in the sun, Chris looked very cute, she was holding a shower head and watering the flowers. Vados couldn't help but smile. Isn't Keshi so cute when she doesn't talk? If she stood with Kes, people who didn't know would think she was the older sister. Feeling someone was looking at her, Kes raised her head slightly and waved to Vados. Vados was puzzled, but still stood up and floated over, looking at Kessie, and asked, "What's wrong, sister?" Kes coughed twice, her pretty face slightly stiffened. "Didn't you notice?" Vados looked confused. "What? Is it about AIXI?" Kessie glared at Vados. "All you know about AIXI is this day." Vados rolled his eyes. "What's that?" Kessie narrowed her eyes. "Regardless of AIXI's matter, it's just that something incredible seems to have been born in the universe." "Something incredible?" Vados was puzzled. "What is that?" Kes shook her head. "It's okay. I lead, _number Vados glared at Kes and said, "Riddler, get out of here." Kes looked at Vados with a smile on her face. "Vados, are you saying bad things about me?" Vados quickly shook his head. "No." Kes nodded slightly. "I hope not. If you still want to get your chopped off, just try it. The butt is bruised." Vados's body trembled. She doesn't want to go through this again. Chris is no joke. It really blooms. Her butt still hurts a little bit now. Just as the two were chatting, 460, a pink elephant man walked over. "Rumsshi." The two looked at Rumsshi, somewhat puzzled. Rumsshi was breathing heavily, looking anxious, and was just about to speak. Boom. The space and time around them suddenly exploded. Two figures walked out slowly. AIXI, Vegeto. Seeing the two of them, both of them were stunned. Vados was surprised and said, "AIXI, you are back." AIXI nodded, "Yes." Kessie smiled slightly, "You came quite quickly, I thought you didn't want your little angel anymore." AIXI. Aside. Vados blushed and was about to speak. Then, Kes looked at Vegeto beside her, eyes narrowed slightly. "Who are you?" Vegeto smiled and said, "My name is Vegeto." Vegeto paused. "He's AIXI's friend." Kos nodded slightly, glanced at Vegeto again, and said nothing. AIXI also glanced at Vegeto. Aside. Rumsshi stood there in a daze, feeling very embarrassed and not knowing what to say. He didn't dare to look at AIXI. AIXI had beaten him so badly last time. He still has a huge trauma from it. Kessie looked at Rumsshi. "Go ahead, Master Rumsshi." When Rumsshi saw that someone finally paid attention to him, his face suddenly brightened and he looked at Kessie with gratitude. "Our own angel is still the best." Rumsshi nodded, his tone slightly solemn. "First, our 10th universe was attacked by unknown evil people just now. I went to see them and found that they were surrounded by different degrees of evil aura. It was very scary. The weakest among them has reached the 9th level where the average level of the strongest in the universe is the highest. Our people don't dare to even look at them." Kes nodded slightly. "That is the power of the demon god. Once attached, the strength will be greatly enhanced. The evil thoughts in the heart will also be infinitely magnified, and the mind will also be polluted." Rumsshi was shocked. The power of the demon god. After Kessie explained, Rumsshi looked serious. "BHDJ, that's right, I was wondering why they are so strong." Rumsshi said, his tone becoming more serious, "By the way, it's not just me, other universes have been attacked as well. I felt sorry for them." Rumsshi laughed out loud, "But Kessie, you don't know, in addition to us, Beerus was also attacked, and he was the worst." Rumsshi was gloating. "In the 7th universe, there is actually someone with a universe combat power index of 12. What is the concept? It's equivalent to the level of an intern angel. And there's more than one, there are many." Rumsshi looked excited, shook his head and laughed. "I have already imagined the scene where Beerus is finished. He and Beerus have a bad relationship. Beerus is the happiest one when he suffers." However, after he finished speaking, no one spoke. No one responded to him. Rumsshi was stunned and looked towards everyone. After noticing that everyone was silent, Rumsshi asked in confusion, "What happened to you guys?" Kessie looked helpless. "Lord Rumsshi, do you know which universe AIXI is from?" Rumsshi, the moment I heard this. Rumshi's face changed. He had already thought of it. "No way. AIXI is actually from Beerus." "Oh shit." Gurgle. Rumsshi swallowed and looked at AIN with a wry smile. AIXI ignored him and looked at Vados. "Vados, let's go." Vados nodded quickly, "Okay." She didn't want to stay here any longer. She couldn't stand Kess's crazy desire for control. Just when several people were about to leave, Kess stepped forward quickly. Hey, are you guys leaving just like this? AIXI looked at Kessie. Kess smiled and said, take me with you. The two were stunned. Vados stared at Kess. Sister, please stop joining in the fun. Don't you care about the universe? Aside. Rumsshi nodded repeatedly. Yes. What will I do if you leave? He looked at Kessie steadily. But Kessie shook her head. Don't worry. Master Rumsshi said that there are no strong ones. Besides, our angel can't do anything, and there's no point for me to be here. I might as well play with you. 24. Is there a possibility that he is talking about a strong person? It's just not as scary as Beerus's. Vados snorted coldly. Sister, I can't stand you any more today. Vados stared at Kess. You just want to control my movements all the time, right? Are you afraid that AIXI will eat me up? Or do you think you can't stand seeing me doing well, sister? Chris, OXI. Kess was a little embarrassed and looked away unconsciously. After hearing Vados say that he couldn't bear to see her doing well, Kess's pretty face suddenly became anxious. Vados, how could I not like you? Do you think that bad of me? Vados knew that what he said was serious, but he couldn't withdraw it, so he could only mutter, then you will supervise me like this all day. Kess said nothing and kept her head down in silence. See this scene. Vados was a little proud, and continued seriously, Sister, although I know you are doing this for my own good, I am not stupid, you don't have to be like this. Hearing this, Kess sighed. Then he looked up at Vados, are you finished? Vados nodded. I hope Momweo will run to Kess blinked. Vados, you actually said that I was spying on you. Well, let's just forget about this, right? Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, Vados spread out his palm, and a ball of energy slowly condensed in the white jade palm. The source of angel. Vados' eyes widened slightly and he looked at Kess in disbelief. What is this operation? AIXI on the side was also stunned. He didn't understand what Kess was doing either. As for Rumsshi, he was completely stunned and rubbed his eyes. He even suspected that he had not woken up yet. Angel's origin, is this thing so cheap? Vados opened his arms and stood in front of AIXI. Sister, don't joke about this. Vados looked serious. She didn't want her sister to do the same because of her. You know, once bound, it means Angel will no longer be in the immortal state. But you will die. Kess smiled slightly, since you said you are investing, why can't I do the same? After saying that, Kess raised her hand and waved it gently. The warm breath instantly passed through Vados and came straight to AIXI. It trembled for a moment and then immediately poured into AIXI's body. All of a sudden, AIXI felt a warm breath running through her body. Angel's power. AIXI closed her eyes slightly. This energy is different from Vados's. Kess's angel power is very pure and gentle. AIXI instantly felt her aura rise a little more. His combat power was already close to the 11th level, and he stepped into that level in an instant. It is worth mentioning that the people that AIXI defeated during his recent time and space travel, did not bring him much template progress. After a battle, he only increased by 5%. Still too little. Just like last time, AIXI can clearly feel the presence of Keshi. He can teleport Keshi or be teleported to his side, and use a little bit of Angel's power. AIXI opened her eyes, looked at KSI and smiled slightly. Thanks. Kessie nodded slightly and stared at AIXI, don't get carried away. Aside. Vados was furious. She never thought that KS would give away the source of Angel right in front of her. Vados couldn't help but put his hands on Kessie's face and rubbed it back and forth. Sister, what are you doing? D. What are you going to do? Kess was molded into various cute shapes, and made inarticulate sounds. I'm so mad. Vados pinched Chris's face and pulled it hard. Kess's face turned slightly red, and she quickly raised her hand to gently shake Vados away. Kess said softly, Vados, it's too late to save the situation now. I lead, aside. Vegeto looked at AIXI with admiration. AIXI, you are really awesome. AIXI didn't say anything. Vegeto said to himself, it gives me a headache to talk about it. In our time and space, there is a girl named Kefla in the 6th universe. Do you know her? AIXI nodded, I know her. Kale and cauliflower, the combination of. Vegeto had a headache, that little girl is just like me, she can't disintegrate, and she just pesters me to fight every day. AIXI couldn't help but ask curiously, will your time and space never disintegrate? Vegeto nodded, that's right, once you merge, you can't disintegrate again. I've been a fusion for about 5 years, right? 5 years. AIXI narrowed her eyes slightly. Using the talent and potential of a combined person, to practice for 5 years, what does this mean? No wonder AIXI felt Vegeto was so strong the first time she saw him. This would also explain what he said earlier about killing the invaders. I have been training with this body for so long, and if I can't kill a gods of destruction in 1 second, I would be doing a disservice to this body. AIXI couldn't help but get excited, he had already imagined the battle with Vegeto. The argument between Kes and Vados came to an end. Neither of them spoke, but stood beside AIXI in tacit understanding. Vados stared at AIXI, right? AIXI, what's the reason for this unexplained indifference? Call out. Everyone disappeared at the same time, leaving only Rumsshi. Rumsshi sighed. Chapter 115. The Seventh Universe. Earth. The 2 battlefields divided by Demi-Cooler and Has and others are now engaged in a fierce battle. Except for the 7th universe, the rest of the universes are led by Has and others to fight. As for the 7th universe, Demi-Cooler will appear in person. North Capital. This is where wars frequently break out, because the terrain here is vast, with endless plains and mountains, which are an excellent battlefield for everyone. Just now, Whis, who received the news, immediately notified Son Goku and his group, and Son Goku and his group immediately rushed to Earth. There were several figures standing in the sky. Demi-Cooler, Masked Man, Shamel, Gerbi, combined Zamasu, BA. Below, the Earth warriors are, Son Goku, Vegeta, Broly, Leiji, Son Gohan. And the spectators, Beerus, Whis. The 2 sides confronted each other. Vegeta's eyes were fixed on Demi-Cooler, and he felt a shock from the bottom of his heart and soul that made his whole body tremble. So strong. Vegeta stared at Demi-Cooler, Whis, do you know that guy? Beerus was also staring at Demi-Cooler. It was the first time for him to feel such great pressure. As the gods of destruction, I never thought that one day I would be put under pressure by others. Whis narrowed his eyes and looked at Demi-Cooler, everyone, you better be careful. His strength is not weaker than AIXI. OXI. Everyone's expression changed. How strong is AIXI? Needless to say, and this man in front of me is not weaker than AIXI? Demi-Cooler laughed loudly, ignoring everyone else, and stared straight at Whis, Angel. Interesting, I've never fought Angel before. Tell me your name. Whis didn't say anything, his face was full of helplessness, how did this get to him? Aside. Beerus' face darkened. How could a god of destruction be ignored? FG world, why can't even Beerus keep up? Seeing that Whis didn't say anything, Demi-Cooler sneered, are you afraid? Demi-Cooler shook his head, a great angel is afraid of fighting, what a coward. Is this the #1 race in the universe? Zent. Whis smiled, and a hint of anger flashed across his face for the first time, but he quickly suppressed it. Whis stared at Cooler, I can't attack you, but even if you are just pure martial arts in normal conditions, I can still defeat you with one move. Flash sale. Everyone present was shocked. Demi-Cooler had a gloomy expression on his face. He had accumulated a lot of dark energy through the powerful warriors of the multiverse. At least the 3rd form can be reached. Magic enhanced form. He just doesn't believe that he can't beat an angel? Demi-Cooler didn't say anything, but stepped back slightly and let his hands pull. He was absorbing 10 points of energy. It's definitely not that he's scared. Demi-Cooler retreated behind the scenes, and the masked man became the leader. Everyone looked at the masked man with a gloomy expression. This. No stranger to nature. The person who said a lot of incomprehensible things last time. Son Goku stepped forward, hey, let me fight you. Start fighting right away. Son Goku really wants to see how bloody this man who is said to be able to destroy the universe is. The masked man laughed hoarsely, Son Goku. The masked man shook his head slightly, his tone was full of indifference, do you know what my nickname is outside? Son Goku narrowed his eyes, what? The masked man laughed and said, "Tracer! Tracer!" Everyone was stunned, and then reacted suddenly. Vegeta took a step forward and stared at the masked man. "Are you the one who killed Kakarot?" Chest. The masked man looked at Vegeta with appreciation. "Smart." Then, he stretched out a hand and gently broke it. "If I count, I have killed Son Goku, there should be 167, right?" After saying that, the masked man smiled and said, "It will be 168 soon." Everyone gasped. Son Gohan's face was grim. He wanted to rush up and kill the other person on the spot. Son Goku looked indifferent. "It's okay for you to kill me, but did you kill Shishi, Krillin, and the others?" The masked man nodded as a matter of course. "Of course, why not kill him?" "Hateful!" Son Goku roared, and a layer of sky blue flame suddenly rose around his body. In just a moment, he completed the transformation from normal to super blue. His hair, eyebrows, and pupils also changed into sky blue in an instant, sacred and dazzling. Boom! Carrot! Vegeta exclaimed, but the other party had already rushed towards the masked man. The masked man grinned, "Super blue. Then let me show you this beautiful form from the legend. Pink." As soon as he finished speaking, he clenched his fists suddenly, and a dazzling pink flame suddenly burst out from his body. The surging divine power spread out, and his hair instantly turned pink. When Son Goku saw this, instead of fear, his eyes were filled with anger. Boom boom boom. Soon, the two figures began to wrestle with each other, and the two figures in the sky collided back and forth, with continuous thunder sounds. Fight, fight! A low roaring sound spread across the sky. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound. Kamba. At this moment, Kenba was surrounded by dark red flames, and the overwhelming evil energy crystals were rippling. "Who's up?" someone asked. Broly took a step forward and pointed his eyes at Kamba. "I'll meet him." Boom! Bang! Broly shot out and arrived in front of Kenba in an instant, and punched Kenba in the face with his speed and strength reaching extremes. In an instant, Kenba's face was distorted and sunken, and his body flew backwards violently. Boom! A dull explosion resounded through the sky, and the entire world seemed to split apart. But the next second, a figure lifted the rebel unscathed. Kenba stared at Broly, full of excitement. "Come again!" Hey 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 hey! Immediately afterwards, a roar came sweeping over. Kenba instantly changed from normal to Super Saiyan, with dark red aura surging around him. With a strange atmosphere, it makes people tremble. Bang! Kenba was extremely fast and instantly came in front of Broly, clenching his fists. It hit Broly's face with unparalleled force. "Fight back!" The dark red flames caused time and space to vibrate. It can be seen how terrifying the power of this punch is. Broly's pupils shrank slightly, so fast. With just one strike, Broly was smashed hard into the ground and poured into the ground. Kenba hadn't even gotten a glimmer of satisfaction yet. On the ground below, suddenly, a green flame with a diameter of about 100 meters suddenly rose into the sky, carrying a huge amount of energy. Boom! Transmission Super First Stage. Broly's body suddenly became several times bigger, reaching a height of 3 meters. The swollen muscles are full of explosive power. Buzz! A ball of dazzling green energy ripples around Broly, with the power to destroy the world. Full range energy wave. It means that what follows is inevitable. However, when Kenba saw this scene, not only was there no fear in his eyes, but he was full of excitement. Boom! Without any hesitation, he shot out and rushed towards the opponent's devastating green energy bomb. Bang! 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 Suddenly, fierce thunder blasts rang out on the ground again. Time and space were shattered in an instant. Original place. Vegeta and the other two looked at the sky. The remaining opponents are Zamasu, Shamal, and Girl. 3 on 3. Zamasu looked at everyone with contempt, then shook his head and sighed, "Humans, even if you have the power of God, you still can't learn the beauty of God. Always seeking violent solutions to problems is so ugly." And Reg stared at Zamasu. "Who are you?" Zamasu covered his face and sighed, "Savage monkey, you must learn to respect God." K0. Reg's face was fierce. He hated people who had no strength but loved to pretend the most. Reg stared at Zamasu. "I hope your mouth is tough too. Otherwise, I will tear him apart." Boom. A layer of silver-white flame rose from Reek's body, his hair instantly reached his waist, his body was covered with silver-white hair, and his aura was deep and powerful. Super 5. Sizzle. Purple lightning flashed frequently around him, making a thunder-like sound. Seeing this, Zamaso's expression changed drastically. What? Bang. But before he could be shocked, a one-sided beating began. Original place. Sun Gohan and Vegeta simultaneously rushed towards the only two people left in the sky, Gerby and Shamil. The two instantly transformed into beast form and super blue form. Violent energy radiates. Boom. In an instant, the entire north was thrown into chaos. There were deafening thunders everywhere. Below, Beerus and Whis stared at the scene. Beerus's face was gloomy and he clenched his fists. On the side, Whis saw his actions, shook his head and smiled. Lord Beerus, do you regret it? I didn't practice well at the beginning. Beerus said nothing. Regret? Of course a little bit, after all, this is the key to his current powerlessness. Suddenly, Beerus asked, Whis, do you think that Demi-Cooler can defeat Angel? Hearing this, Whis shook his head and smiled. Impossible. Whis said calmly, Angel is not so easy to be defeated. Beerus breathed a sigh of relief, but he was also curious and asked, Whis, how strong are you? After all these years, he still doesn't know how strong Whis is. After all, it only takes one finger to kill instantly. Whis groaned, isn't Lord Beerus currently at 11 in Universe's combat power? Beerus nodded slightly, yes. Whis smiled, I'm in 15-15. Beerus gasped. What is the concept? In the 11th stage, even if the difference is tens or hundreds, it can still be crushed. Not to mention the difference of several large units. DX. Beerus sighed, his whole life. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.